the injury to his throwing hand. Also today on ESPN Radio, Baylor visits Colorado. Our coverage of that game kicks off at 7:30 Eastern. Later today will be UCLA facing 16th ranked LSU. That game kicks off on ABC at 3:30 Eastern. The Tigers are a 21-point home favorite on ESPN Bet. The hunt for October continues in baseball. Right now, the Mets hold the final wild card spot in the National League despite losing to the Phillies last night.
2-1. They opened Southeastern Conference play last week with a 36-33 win against South Carolina in Columbia. It'll be LSU's second game against a Big Ten opponent from Los Angeles. That still sounds weird. It's going to sound weird for a long time. They opened the season with a 27-20 loss to USC in Las Vegas. The Tigers last week in South Carolina found themselves in a 17-0 hole. They fought their way out of it and then got into a contest in the second half that saw the defense finally make some stops, although it was against the second-team South Carolina quarterback. But the offense also responded with some big plays. They were able to overcome some glaring mistakes, and they picked up a few breaks here and there, not the least of which was a penalty on a 101-yard interception return for South Carolina. For LSU, there are positives. The quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier, has for the most part played very well. They may have found a solution in the running game with the freshman Caden Durham having provided a spark a week ago in Columbia. Harold Perkins probably looked as comfortable as he has so far this season with a couple of very disruptive plays against South Carolina, including one that resulted in a turnover. But, Musso, the overall feeling is that there is something amiss with this LSU team. While there is potential there, and they've certainly done enough to win the last two games, they've also left you with the idea that there's some holes, that there's some problems that need to be fixed. And they start today with a UCLA team that is in a little bit of disarray, had a tough offseason, and is a 3-touchdown underdog today.
It's the yeah, but factor, right? It's Caden Durham, yeah, but. Harold Perkins, yeah, but. And you're right, UCLA, Hanny, I don't know about y'all. I haven't heard anyone that we've had on our airwaves all week say one positive thing about this UCLA team. It has been a lot of negative. And if I'm LSU, I'm looking to go in there, get off to really your first fast start of the year, and try to put this team away as early as possible. Don't let a team that no one has anything positive to say hang around and have hope.
For UCLA, their problem started on February the 9th. That was the day that Chip Kelly, their head coach, resigned to take an offensive coordinator's job. That is a highly unusual move in the business, to move within your conference. Yes, Ohio State and UCLA are in the same conference. For a head coaching job to a coordinator's job, it goes the other way. But Kelly, who had tired of the recruiting requirements and NIL, what do we want to call it, stuff that goes along with being a head coach, decided he'd rather just call plays in Columbus. That left UCLA at the end of the hiring cycle trying to find a coach and a staff. Deshaun Foster, who had been on staff there as a running backs coach and enjoyed a long career in the NFL, was named head coach 3 days later. But he was at a decided disadvantage. Again, most of, in fact, all of the head coaching jobs had been filled at that point, and most of the staffing had been done. Most of the heavy lifting in the transfer portal had been done by that time. The recruiting class was done by that time. And with, about 4 or 5 weeks to go before spring football practice, Foster was under the gun. They've gotten off to a slow start. They eked out a 16-13 win against Hawaii to open the season and were blown out by Indiana in the Rose Bowl last week. Conference game, 42-13. So yes, problems amiss around UCLA from top to bottom. Foster may eventually get it going, but again, he was dealt a really tough hand to start this thing. You don't often see UCLA as a 3-touchdown underdog, but that is the case here today. We've got our entire staff ready to get you going here, and if you're on your way into campus, we invite you to stop by Rouse's for all your tailgating supplies. You come in, you go to the left, you've got the Chop House, the bakery, all of your beer, all of your wine, all of your spirits. You go over to the right side, all of your meats, all of your extras, your paper plates, paper towels, things like that. And of course, they never run out of ice here at Rouse's. A lot of water too. We got extra pallets of water left over from the hurricane. So come, you want bottled water? We got plenty. We invite you to come on out and see us. From Rouse's, it's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
This truck season, think about all the things you can do in a Chevy truck. You'll be able to, or you can even just, with impressive towing, incredible bed and tailgate functionality, and multiple powertrains, Chevy trucks have what you need to get things done. When you want to do it all, Chevy's got you. See your Super Chevy dealers today.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Skull Session. Offense. Presented by Gulf Coast Bank. Gulf Coast Bank, the bank that cares about you. Now from the LSU Sports Radio Network, here's Gordy Rush.
LSU and UCLA. Gordy Rush, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Charlie?
I'm doing terrific. Last week at Columbia, LSU finally found some semblance of a running game. It was easy enough to see the difference that Caden Durham made, but I'm curious as to what you thought about the guys up front and what they were able to do.
Well, I thought they made some good adjustments, and so South Carolina came with a really neat scheme they hadn't shown before, in which they were really pinching the inside zone. So the 2 inside defensive tackles were slamming down on the center guard, and basically trying to just hold them up. And so the linebackers could run free. And so the adjustment was that they allowed Will Campbell, instead of just zone blocking his guy, he fanned the edge rusher out, and you had this huge crease. And most of the time it was over to the offensive left. And so I think the adjustments were great. What Durham did that the others didn't, he was patient, which is rare for a freshman. he had great vision, and then he was able to find that hole, get outside, and get north and south. Look, South Carolina, I'll be the first to tell you, and I think I feel like I'm wrong more often, or it's harder to project what teams are like because of this transfer portal. I thought obviously South Carolina was much better defensively than what we thought going into it, especially when I saw their size in pregame warm-up. So this is a really good defensive unit. I think the offensive line made some adjustments to what they saw in the first half and settled in and played better football.
And some of those adjustments that they made up front, I don't know if that hindered them in some of the pass protections. Now, they lost some one-on-ones, and Kyle Kennard, number 5 last week, had himself a day. I think he made himself a considerable amount of money last week going up against Will Campbell. He showed out pretty good. But where there's some missed assignments, there were times where Kennard was unblocked, and it seemed like somebody had missed something because you can't leave that guy unblocked.
No, you can't. I mean, again, they were big, and and I also didn't realize, and they had some people in the portal. They had a lot of kids that had played a lot of football on the defensive side of the defensive side of the ball, and that helped them a little bit. So, look, I think it's one of the top 3 or 4 defenses they're going to play this season, and they found a way to win in the second half. They found a way to clean some of it up and still get over 400 yards of offense.
Yeah, and they found themselves in a 17-0 hole. Gordy, you and I have been doing this a long time. I've heard you say it a million times. Sometimes you can prepare as well as you want. The stadium's full. The band hits the 4 notes, and you're not mentally into it. And you knew South Carolina was going to be lit. That place always is. And LSU just didn't match their intensity early on in this game.
No, they didn't match intensity. I'll tell you, it was 55. It was felt like it was 55 degrees Friday night downtown Columbia. I'm sitting outside, relaxing, having a good time. Picked up my rain gear for the game because it was, when we left Friday morning, I think it was a 78% chance of rain. And it wound up being a blazing hot day. There's no air in that stadium. And we watched the first quarter of the game, and LSU just didn't answer the bell. I also thought that, Beamer and Sean Elliott did a great job on the offensive side of the football, scripting the first quarter. They had a lot of movement, a lot of motion, and LSU just couldn't get set. They struggled with adjustments, couldn't get their cleats in the ground. And then for some reason, and it happens, and I get it in college football, when you get off those first 15 plays, it looks a little different. And to me, they lost some of what they were doing down, into the second quarter. And then obviously the quarterback injury in the third quarter changed things.
You just thought it was hot last week. Just wait.
No, let me tell you.
Gordy,
let me tell you, 4 hours in that heat and with 600 booth reviews, it was hot.
Gordy, with the next 2 weeks coming up, there's going to be a lot of things that people want to see. One thing I'm very interested to watch starting today, and Brian Kelly mentioned it, I believe it was on the teleconference on Wednesday, the short yardage, specifically on 3rd down, 3rd to 1 and 3, as he put it. Yeah. And it's interesting because when you chart it out, I mean, they've ran it, they've thrown it, they've tried a bunch of different things, but it hasn't really seemed to work. What do you think is really the crux of that issue?
And been able to execute. And look, I think here's a couple things. Nussmeier's obviously not a threat to run, so and they brought the game into a box, and I think one of the things when they've gone to multiple tight end sets, I think Taylor's an average blocker. Pimpton and Green are not really giving you much help as second tight ends, and that's why you saw Bordelon wearing 89 and going in there, and so you're not executing, you're not better personnel wise. I think in general you can talk more. I'll talk more about the red zone. They've got to be more efficient down there. It was a problem against USC. Where's Trudez Green? Where's some of the matchups? We saw the RPO to Lacey, and I expect to see more of that. And I think that shows some. Here's Joe Sloan trying to put this together, and you're moving pieces around, and let's find 10 or 12 plays that we're going to run every day when we get and run a red zone package and try to execute those at a high level.
It's a 50-50 run pass
split right now,
on the 3rd and 3 or less, which is their highest pass percentage on third down in the last 8 years by a lot, and the conversion percentage is down as well. Gordy, they get Chris Hilton back today. They tell me that he has the best chance to be the deep threat that LSU wants. How much, even if he doesn't catch a lot of balls today or any, how much does his presence loosen things up?
We'll see. I think it's, to me, I think it's one of the two things they really got to do much better offensively. And, you know, Matt asked me about these two games and, you know, stuff that you have to clean up on the offensive side of the football. I would tell you from a defensive guy's point of view, and if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm not scared of 2 or 4 beating me against press coverage. We haven't seen separation. They haven't had the timing and the consistency that those guys did a year ago. And I've also seen that maybe this offensive line isn't elite, right, as everybody else thought that they are, and that SC had some breakthroughs in getting to the quarterback and bringing some pressure. Nichols, because, you know, they were here and they were going to roll dice. You know, they had a couple pressure packages, and then obviously South Carolina gave you fits. And if you can't stretch the field vertically, and you can't get Hilton or Sampson going, somebody like that, then I'm going to bring pressure and I'm going to roll dice. And so I watched the UCLA Indiana game. I don't think they've got the people, the Jims and Joes, to do it. But you're going to see it out of Ole Miss. You're going to see it out of A&M. You're going to see it in the games that really matter, that there people are going to do that. So how do I help Nussmeier out? And what are some of my beaters here, and, you know, against the blitz? And can I get some sort of vertical stretch with the fine job that they're doing horizontally, sideline to sideline with the pass game?
Nussmeier threw 2 pick sixes last week that were called back. The first one, he's kind of being flung. It looked like more of a desperation, try to get rid of the ball. But the other one, it looked like they fooled him, Gordy. What happened on that? Yep. What happened on that play? Yeah, no, absolutely. He didn't. I think he didn't see the guy. He read something else and stepped in front of it. And you know, it was a good defense, and I'm going to give them credit for that. And so, kind of taking mental notes, Charlie, as we go through this, because I'm interested to see Ole Miss, who's going to not look like Ole Miss on defense, right? You're not going to have guys that are 6 foot. I mean, they've gone out and they've got Nolan on the defensive line from A&M. They've got some people there. I'm going to continue. It's going to be fun to watch how people, to me, are going to defend LSU and Garrett Nussmeier and some of the things that, you know, that some of the deficiencies I've had offensively. I did not expect after spring, after the Wisconsin Bowl game, that LSU would struggle in the vertical, right? And for Aaron Anderson at 5'10" to be your deep threat right now, you know, again, I'm seeing that. If I'm seeing that, defense coordinators are seeing that. We'll take a break. We'll flip sides of the ball to talk about the LSU defense. We are at Rouse's, corner of Burbank and Lee. Stop by on your way into campus. Pick up all your tailgating supplies. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, Our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Skull Session. Defense. Presented by Edward Jones. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Now from the LSU Sports Radio Network, here's Gordy Rush.
ESPN Bet Sportsbook at LaBerge. Your Game Day headquarters are countdown to kickoff now. 4 hours and about 40 minutes. Gordy, Harold Perkins last week lining up in more of a kind of a traditional 4-3 setup. He looked more comfortable. He certainly made more plays. What did you see out of this? I don't want to call it a new alignment. It's not like it's revolutionary everything, but it was a little tweak from what they had been doing.
Yeah, I liked it. He went from the Will to the Sam position. And so a lot of times he was on the tight end side, and so he would have a strong safety rotated behind him. I thought he had more space, and then, he's on that side with Savion Jones a little bit, who you got to account for. I think he's getting more and more comfortable, and I had to go speak at I spoke at St. Aloysius Thursday night, and actually it's still the number one question, right? Is about, well, why can't they just put Harold Perkins where he was as a true freshman? That was a small sample of games. The people that you had there are you had a special group that was around him at that time. Was it Ojulari on the other side? And Roy was in there, and so you had a really group. But people started scheming it, and the problem with him being there on first and second down is at 205 or 215, whatever he is, I'm going to run right at him, and then putting him at that weak side defensive end. People would just put personnel groups and put 3 or 4 wide receivers and force him a coverage. And hey, how do I neutralize him? I'm going to run right at him, or I'm going to make him a defensive back. And I think trying to get him on first and second down right now, they found that Sam linebacker in the 4-3. I think it's their best set. I think you'll see a lot of 4-3 today against UCLA. I'm interested. I think the next time we'll see something a little different is Ole Miss. So you're going to be able to stay in that base defense, because I think it's LSU's best personnel group.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. What happens when Lane Kiffin throws every formation in the book at you in a couple of weeks? And so what's the counter to that? I hear your scheme argument. Gordy, we've been having this conversation for 2 years. It's on Kelly and Baker. If they're scheming your best guy out, scheming back in, you better figure out where he fits, because if they're scheming him out of the play or off the field, then you're being outcoached. I'm sorry. The point is, the thing is, you put him somewhere else. Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to do. But if you keep him in that position, so what, you could take Swinson off the football field, right? You're gonna go to some sort of nickel. So where are the places you can put him? You want him in space playing the nickel. You want to take Weeks off the field. He's probably been your best player. Or are you going to take Penn out of that middle linebacker position? So I don't know is the question. But, I mean, everybody saw that small sample of Perkins, and obviously where he was last year was a hot mess. It was too complicated, and it didn't work out. And then this year he's more comfortable in the Sam and the Will. They're trying to figure a way to, on first and second down, we want to keep him on the football field. Third down, he's got a lot of great looking blitz packages, and that's where he excels. So my point to you is, for Ole Miss, maybe they go the whole game in some sort of, race car or third down package. They do that. Ole Miss can still run the football, right? I mean, Dart can run. So I don't know. To be determined.
Yeah, and Ole Miss is better up front than maybe they have been in a very, very long time. Getting Ty Alexander back from extended reps last week, Gordy, we saw the immediate benefits of this. He had the pick in the end zone. But it also looked like it was a lot more comfortable for Sage Ryan, save the one play where Sellers jukes him and takes it the distance. But they, I think, got better at two positions with Alexander coming back.
No, I agree. I mean, Alexander against Nichols looked good. And I thought, by and large, he looked really good against South Carolina. The injury had nothing to do with his knee. He kind of hit his head and got the wind knocked out of him. And I actually went to practice on Thursday. He looked good. He's ready to go. Yeah, absolutely. I think to have those two corners there, now it's really solidifying the safety. And for me, that's where you've had some misplaced run fits. People have thrown the ball. Going back to USC, they threw the ball in the middle of the football field. And they've had a lot of combinations back there. And I understand why they're doing some of it. I think you got to settle down on a safety tandem, because the communication to me is huge, right? I mean, I go back to Sellers' touchdown pass. They ran motion across the field. Gilbert was at the free safety position, and then Ryan was on the side that the motion started from. And when that guy took off, Gilbert, I thought, overreacted and just took off and sprinted to the direction he was going, and Ryan was late getting there. They'd communicate well, and there was just too big of a gap. And there's been too many times where I think it's been a missed assignment, a slow assignment, or just with the combinations you get out there, you're just not getting the level of communication and execution back there I think you want. And so I'm going to be interested to see they start settling down and see at least a pair or some people stand out and play a few more downs together, right? And I don't know what that's going to look like.
Had some special teams miscues last week. Bad snaps are bad snaps. It's been a long time since they've had one of those. They've been really good in that area, so give him one. But the punt block, it appeared to me that the punter is way closer to the protection shield than he should have been. What did you see on that? And the Southeastern Conference they gave kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? A sketchy explanation
sketchy.
of why that was a legal play with the leap. But he did look like he was a little close to the protection shield. What'd you say?
Yeah, I agree with at least Coach Kelly's agreement to disagree with that. The other thing that I'll bring out, I think it was just a small sample of everything that happened in the first half. The guys in the shielding to deliver a blow. I mean, they're going. If you're going to let those sort of athletes, 240 plus, run through there and just think that you're going to catch the blow every time, you're not. You're going to have to take a step and hit them. And so I would like to see the shield strike a blow a little bit more with that. And again, this was more about South Carolina bringing an attitude and getting after it.
Gordy, you've been in that stadium in afternoon games that were hot before. The Auburn game comes to mind. The Georgia game comes to mind. You've played in that stadium in the afternoon games, and you've been to California. So tell me about UCLA dealing with this heat, man. It's going to be over 90 degrees at kickoff. They're not practicing in anything close to that. How big of a factor is it today?
There's no air in that stadium on afternoons like this. And I don't get into the fashion game, right? The band I do, but not the fashion game.
Right.
And I don't know why we're wearing purple. I would have them in sissy blue because it's going to be 18 more degrees hotter into that blue.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a factor. There's no two ways to put it. I mean, you go out to where they practice in Burbank, the wind blows in, and this is going to. It's hard to find air if you're not used to the humidity that's going to be in there, and it's a definite advantage for LSU.
Hydrate, fans, and not exactly in the way you always hydrate. You
do that too, though.
Yeah,
do that too, though.
Mix in a water here and
there. There you go.
Gordy, have a good call. We'll talk to you after the game.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
And we'll take a break here at Rouse's, corner of Burbank and Lee. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Brandon Holly here. Siding, windows, even doors. ReliefWindows.com.
Eagle 98.1, WDGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Orderlocks, presented by William Crane Allstate Insurance Agency. For auto, home, life insurance in the Baton Rouge and surrounding areas, William Crane Allstate Insurance Agency. Now, here's Jimmy Ott.
We return at Rouse's corner of Burbank and Lee. Stop by for all your tailgating supplies on your way into Tiger Stadium. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
Before we get to today's slate, about as competitive and good of a Friday night schedule as we can remember, man. An overtime game, a double overtime game, the game that ended in regulation, a field goal at the gun. Some real competitive football last night. What stood out to you?
I think McCord struggled at quarterback. I thought he had turned the corner, and it was not his best night. And it cost his team, the game. He was just not nearly as sharp as he's been for most of the season. I thought that Ohio State kind of let their rival, beat them 3 years in a row, kind of cloud their vision a little bit. And you reap the benefits the second year when after your first year starter has a little bumps along the way. He didn't play terrible. He won 11 of his 12 starts. But they went and got, Will Howard out of Kansas State and kind of nudged McCord out. I thought it was a big mistake. And, man, he was so good against Georgia Tech, and they needed every bit of it when he threw for 378, 4 TDs, no interceptions. But not the case last night. I mean, from the very start, 3 and out and, some turnovers. And man, Stanford, that's a tough trip from Palo Alto to Syracuse, New York, and they deserved it. They played better. They outperformed them last night. But also, Illinois, Nebraska, and man, the kid, the Ole Miss transfer at Illinois, he was very, very average at best last year. Guess what? He's better in his second year. And we don't have to remind anybody in Baton Rouge. All we need to go is cite Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels. Man, they were a huge jump up in their second year after the first year. And I think it's just sometimes some coaches or some programs can be a little impatient. But, man, that second year is a big deal. And I saw it in the Illinois Robbie Ashford last night. In Washington State, this was – and Charlie, I popped one money line last night, and I should have got another one. But San Jose State was right there. And, how about these coaches? Whether Alabama loses, Nick Saban, they get a really good one in DeBoer. Washington loses DeBoer, and they replace him with Fish. Arizona gets Brennan from San Jose State. And we forgot to say San Jose State's got a pretty good coach now there as well. And, Coach Nia Tamalo, help me out on that, from Navy.
Coach Ken.
Really
Coach Ken, yeah.
He was really wrong, on the Annapolis deal. And what happened there? Well, they lost to Army, and it got to them too much, and they made a poor move right there. They haven't been the same since. So, San Jose, Washington State, after a big emotional win, beating Big Brother on the fourth and goal from the one stance to win the Apple Cup last week. Yeah, man, when you leave a lot of emotion on the field, you got that much less in the tank the following week. And that's my biggest concern with Tulane is today. Man, how fired up can they be after playing Kansas State and Oklahoma? When's the last time Tulane played two quality programs like that back-to-back? And then, you got little ULL. So, and I think that's where the smart money has come in. I'm against it. So I got Tulane today. I saw Tulane compete with Oklahoma in Kansas State, and even with a little less emotion, I think they can take care of ULL today.
Game day is in Norman, Oklahoma. First SEC game for Oklahoma. Tennessee has steamrolled their three opponents so far, but the biggest test for them so far comes today. Nico Iamaleava. I've been practicing.
Nailed it, Hanny. Let's go.
I've been practicing. What do you think today? The Vols go in as right about a touchdown favorite, maybe peeking under a touchdown a little bit here early.
Yeah, after a long night with Mahoney over at the Beau Rivage, I'll leave the pronunciation to you this morning, Charlie. So, hey, man, how do you not like Tennessee today? I mean, look, and the thing about Tennessee and Ole Miss, these offensive-oriented tempo coaches, that's great, okay, but they don't really have a chance to do anything really big because they compromise their defense. They don't practice against any type of physicality. Oh, all of a sudden, and I know it hadn't been murderer's row, but Tennessee and Ole Miss combined have not given up an offensive touchdown. And we talked about this a little bit before the season, that Ole Miss finally has the line of scrimmage. I think that Tennessee, and previewing them in the offseason, doing some futures, one thing I like is their schedule. They're going to be favored in every game, all 12. Now, this was a game that they were underdog by 4.5 or 5 back in the summer, when Circa and some others put out their college games of the year. But they flipped it all the way to a 7.5 point favorite today. Everything points toward Tennessee minus one big angle. And how long have we been talking about it? Quarterback Garrett Nussmeier made his first true road start last week. And if it wasn't for a couple of penalties, man, we'd be talking about those pick sixes a lot more this week. He got away with it, but he was a little bit not quite himself last week in that first start. Well, it's that much more for guys that haven't waited their turn and been there for years in freshmen. So the freshman, a freshman making his first true road start on a hostile environment, and that's what Nico's doing today. He's going to have some bumps. I can see this thing unfolding where he has some mistakes early. Oklahoma behind the crowd, gets into it. Don't think that crowd doesn't have a little extra juice for their first SEC game ever, with Tennessee coming in as a top 5 team. So I can see Tennessee falling behind, and I can see also he's so damn good, I can see him leading a comeback. So I think it's way more interesting. It'd probably be way more competitive because of that angle. freshman quarterback making his first true road start. That is tough for a young player.
USC making their first trip to the Big House since the 1950s. First game for them in Big Ten play. Michigan's changed quarterbacks. Alex Orji is getting his first start. He is a junior, and the game is at home. We haven't seen much of USC since the Vegas game. They blew out Utah State. They were off last week. Trojans about a 4-point favorite in the 2:30 game in Ann Arbor.
I discount a lot, the change of defensive coordinators and a lot of times. But I guess USC, they were so bad defensively. And I just, the visuals of watching Spears from Tulane, the Cotton Bowl, just run through arm tackle after arm tackle. Utah in that Pac-12 championship game in Las Vegas where they just couldn't. I mean, it was pitiful. And it's just attention to small things like tackling and blocking. And they just tackle better this year, and that's just attention to detail. Everybody's got so many young players, and especially this era, got their mind on so many other things besides fundamental football. And and that's something that Jim Harbaugh didn't do it at Michigan with any smoke and mirrors, with any gimmicks and things like that. It's just blocking and tackling, and they're not doing anything super complicated at the NFL level as well. He's just old school football, blocking and tackling. This matchup, and I like Miller Moss. I think he really identified in the LSU game some favorable matchups, and he went to them. He knew to throw up a ball, a jump ball, when they had one-on-one situations with those favorable matchups. And I just think he's an old school quarterback. I think Nussmeier is as well. Where we have so many of these athletic guys, and we try and turn them into quarterbacks. Miller Moss is a quarterback. Now on the other side, doesn't this remind you of Georgia, Kentucky, where Kentucky's just kind of going to muck it up and just kind of hang around, but they really don't have any explosive elements to their offense? That's where Michigan is right now. And, their championship hangovers, and then there's this Michigan. Not only did they win their first sole national championship since the 40s, but they also lost a record number of draftees. They lost their head coach, and he didn't take the weaker assistants with him to Los Angeles. So this is a whole thing has been a little bit of a mess, and that's why we like Michigan under. But I do see a spot here where Michigan at home may be able to, kind of like Kentucky, Georgia, low scoring, kind of just keep, just kind of slow the game, dirty it up a little bit. I think USC is just way too big of an advantage at quarterback to lose this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan competes.
Utah makes their Big 12 debut today in Stillwater against Oklahoma State, two favorites in the Big 12 along with Kansas State. You like veterans? Two coaches, been there 20 years apiece.
Yeah.
Two quarterbacks, been there 7 years. Well, not at the school, but 7-year quarterbacks. That's provided that Cam Rising starts today, Jimmy. He's a game-time decision with that hand injury. It's been a topic all week. This line has bounced around all week. This morning it was a pick 'em. It was almost like the odds makers just threw up their hands and said, okay, you know what, pick it. But we're not going to know about Cam Rising until probably about 2:30 today. This game's going to have big implications on the playoff and the Big 12 championship race. So what do you think in Stillwater?
This is Utah's toughest game of the year. It was the only game that they even have a chance of being underdog. And Rising's a big deal. I mean, the Rose Bowl where he first hurt his ACL against Penn State. Penn State 7-0, then 7-7, 14-7 Penn State. Then Utah, they're trading punches, and then Cam Rising goes out and they lose by 2 touchdowns. You saw in the Baylor game, they're up 22-0. He goes out, final score 22-13. So, I mean, he might not be the most talented or the best player in college football. He might be the most valuable. And, because he does a lot of different things, Charlie. They can run that option, a handful of times a game. He's a smart guy. He's a little bit athletic. Reminds me, I told you off the air yesterday, a little bit of an effective runner like Alan Risher was, back in his day. Not going to blow you away with his speed or his super shaky moves, and even Joe Burrow, as a runner in college. I mean, this guy's tough as nails, and man, there's some history as far as the injury availability with Willingham and Utah and Cam Rising. Do you remember last year, the season opener on Thursday night, Utah and Florida? He was questionable then. He didn't play the whole year. I mean, so if you're thinking you're getting anything out of Salt Lake City as far as injury availability or information, that's not happening. So I don't know what to expect here. Our buddy Chris Macero's got a big bet on, Utah getting to the college football playoff. And, this would be a big step in that. And Gundy, all he's done is his first year at a losing season. He's ripped off 19 winning seasons in a row and counting. He's got a good team. One thing that's a little bit puzzling with Oklahoma State. One thing that was a given was Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon's coming back, and Oklahoma State was off to a rough season last year until they started giving him the ball. Then he has, 1,900 yards. Every lineman is back, tackle to tackle. And that running game with Ollie Gordon has not been the same. For some mysterious reason, it just hasn't. So I think Kent Rising's going to play. This game's been circled way for a long time as the toughest one on their schedule. And I think Utah's going to go in there and take care of business.
Jimmy's other pick besides Tulane is West Virginia today. So those are the outer locks for today. Jimmy, who's bringing us outer locks?
Allstate Insurance. That's right, William Crane and Allstate Insurance. Come with the good hands, people, at Allstate. If your rates have gone up on your homeowners, call our agency and get the one and only Jimmy Ott special. Our rates are hard to beat, and Allstate trying to capture the market right here in Louisiana. Ask about our bundle specials as well when bundling your auto and home. Give us a call at 421-3133, 421-3133. Come to the agency that's one of the top sellers in Louisiana, and check us out over here at Allstate. William Crane at Allstate Insurance.
Football Sunday tomorrow from the Beau Rivage, Rohan Davey, I'll be joining you guys. Our entire cast of handicappers will be on tomorrow morning before the NFL starts. Jimmy, have a good day.
Don't be late, boy.
I may be the only one that was pleased with the 2:30 kickoff time.
Yeah.
We'll get to sleep at a decent hour
Absolutely.
tonight. Our countdown to kickoff, our LaBerge countdown to kickoff, ESPN Bet is your game day headquarters here in Baton Rouge. We're at Rouse's. Scouting Report is next. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Scouting Report. Presented by Demco. Providing safe, reliable, and competitively priced energy services to co-op members since 1938.
Welcome back in. Eagle 98.1 Game Day live from the Rouses on Burbank and Lee. Continuing to count you down. LSU and UCLA 2:30 kickoff in Tiger Stadium. Time for our scouting report on the Bruins. We welcome back Jim Nagy to the program, again, Executive Director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. Jim, we appreciate the time as always. How are you?
I'm doing great, Matt.
So, a little bit of a, I want to say revenge game. Don't want to say, let's call it a return game, shall we? LSU, UCLA first met in 2021 out in the Rose Bowl, and here's the return trip. The programs are in two vastly different spots from 2-3 years ago, but nonetheless, they'll do battle. When looking at the Bruins, I want to kind of start on the defensive side of the ball with you, Jim. And Brian Kelly this week made a lot about LSU on third and short. And obviously the LSU running game has been in the crosshairs for many before Caden Durham's performance last week. UCLA up front on the defensive line, they have three big tackles. They're big guys. That's what stands out most in their veterans. I want to ask you about one in particular, though, and that's Jay Toia. What do you see out of his game that could present problems for LSU's front?
Yeah, Matt, he's the best one of the group. You're right. It's a really big group. Now Jay's a big man. He's 6'2.5". He's 340 pounds. You won't be able to miss him out there. Big number 93 this week. He's just hard to move. He's your classic nose tackle. He's going to be a later round draft pick. I do think he gets drafted, because when NFL teams get in that 6th, 7th round area, they're looking for guys that are hard to find. And it's hard to find 340-pound humans that are hard to move. So I do think Jay will get picked. He'll clog up that middle for UCLA. To me, I think they're going to bounce some runs. I mean, you're going to see LSU probably trying to attack the perimeter more, the edges more, because if there's a strength of this UCLA defense, it's this interior defensive line just with their size.
Moving past the defensive line and starting to look at the backers, there's a couple of them to highlight, and they're both right at the top of production so far for UCLA. Kane Medrano is the guy that Brian Kelly mentioned early and often in his Monday presser this week. What can you tell us about Medrano?
Yeah, Medrano's a good athlete. So if you don't get on him, if you don't get a body on him quick, I mean, he can kind of slip and slither and get to the football. He is a good athlete. He's not the strongest guy, so he's not the most physical guy. So it's going to be key for the offensive line to get their hands on this guy early, wear him down. Finesse player is maybe a little bit strong, but there's that to him. He is not a downhill take on player. So you're just gonna have to get to him. If you let him get on the move and run and slip blocks, he can be a really effective player because he is a good athlete. But so that'll be the key. It's just is being physical with that front.
Do they play Medrano in space more because of that, or is he more on the interior?
Well, he plays off the ball. I mean, you will see him outside the box a little bit some downs, but he does play stacked. And the key thing for him is they've got those three big bodies in front of him. So it does play to his strengths. I mean, when they can keep him clean and just free him up to run, that's when he's effective. And they've been able to do that a couple games this year. But that's going to be the key. So I mean, you're just going to have to rough him up early and hopefully that he taps out.
His running mate there at the linebacker spot. Get ready for this one. Oluwafemi Oladejo for UCLA, other linebacker, right up there in production with Medrano. Does his play style differ any?
Yeah, they're really different players. Oladejo, thanks for getting the pronunciations down for me. But yeah, he's a really good-looking kid. He'll be the best-looking guy on their defense. I actually just had a call with our West Coast scout that has already seen UCLA play, and he said when you walk out for pregame, this is the guy who your eyeballs go to. I mean, he's a big physical specimen. They do play him off the ball. He's got length. He can play over the tight end. That's probably going to be his best fit. in the NFL will be as a Sam linebacker, where they can play him over the tight end, but he doesn't have a lot of pass rush, so he's not a guy that's going to be a real threat off the edge as a rusher, but he is physical. He can jack you up at the point of attack on the line of scrimmage. So they're very different linebackers. He's more of a big, long, physical presence, a guy that you would typically see on like an LSU defense, where Medrano's more of a space player and more of an athlete.
I can't take all the credit for the pronunciation. They have a great pronunciation guide over there on the UCLA website. They have the players actually saying their names. So hat tip to UCLA sports information there on that one. Not everybody does that, Jim.
Love that.
Let's flip sides of the ball and look at offense for the Bruins. And look, obviously, they have a senior quarterback, but I'm more interested in the guys that he's throwing the ball to. And one of them is J. Michael Sturdivant, who transferred in from Cal and set the world on fire, honestly, in his couple seasons in Cal. Got the move and looked like there was some big playability there last year. What kind of challenges does he present for LSU's DBs?
Yeah, we're talking about a big, long guy that can really run. He's 6'2.5". He's 200 pounds. He's got long arms. And out of high school, some of his high school track times were really fast. Now he's not really fast out of the blocks. He's more of a speed builder. So to me, you attack this guy, you get up in his face and press him, and not let him get off the line of scrimmage, because once he gets rolling, he can roll. Hands can be a little bit inconsistent. But there's some run after catch. So if they're going to get things done in the passing game, Sturdivant's going to have a really big game for them to hang in this one. And then the other one is the tight end, who I'll probably need some help with the pronunciation, but I think it's Malachi Matavo is a big tight end for those guys. He'll wear number 88, 6'6", 270 pounds. He's a big man. And he moves well. I mean, there's not going to be too many tight ends in this draft class that have this kind of size and movement to them. So if UCLA is going to get anything done, and I think the way this thing's going to go, they're going to fall down early, and they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. And those two guys, the tight end, Matavo and Sturdivant, are going to have to make plays.
All right, I'm not even going to attempt the tight end's name. I don't have the pronunciation guide in front of me. As great as the pronunciation guide is, I don't have it in front of me right now. But, okay, so is his strength more in the passing game, Jim, the tight end?
Yeah, actually it is. I mean, that's really what jumps off the tape when you watch him. Is that's the one thing that you're hanging your hat on. Is this guy's a big athlete. He really is. So you see him get down the seam. I mean, he's a big, smooth-moving, 270-pound guy. And he's probably a couple cheeseburgers away from being a left tackle in the NFL. But he moves well. So they're gonna have to. I would attack the seam with him, and I'd try to get Sturdivant loose down the field and try to hit some big shots down the field. I mean, I think that's the only way UCLA even really competes in this game. You said it wasn't a revenge game. I'm sure a lot of fans think it is a revenge game.
Oh yeah.
And I'd be surprised if this isn't a blowout.
Yeah, and look, tight end was a big factor in UCLA's win a couple years ago in the Rose Bowl for sure. Okay.
Yeah, that guy Greg Dulcich, who killed LSU in that game. He ended up he was in the Senior Bowl that year, had a great week down here, and ended up going in the third round. So, I mean, you guys got beat up by a really good player, and he's been banged up for the Broncos since he's been in the league. But he was a really talented guy. That wasn't a one-off game against LSU. Greg Dulcich was he was the real deal.
Yeah, many people remember that, and I would imagine that anyone listening right now is not surprised to hear that he had a great week at the Senior Bowl and then went in the third round. That guy was a menace for 3 hours that night over there in Westwood. Okay, you mentioned big plays for UCLA down the seam or in the secondary. That's actually been an area LSU's been pretty decent at this year, especially compared to last. One reason, and the defensive backs are talking to this more than anybody at LSU right now, is what you've seen from the defensive front. And one guy I want to ask you about from LSU's defensive front, especially because of a week ago, is Braden Swinson. I know he was the defensive player of the week for the Senior Bowl this week. 5 tackles, 3 sacks. What did you see from Braden Swinson and the development that he's made in his second year in Baton Rouge so far?
Yeah, Matt, I mean, how crazy is this? We're only 3 weeks into the college season, and we've had 2 weeks ago we had Savion Jones as our stock-up player of the week, and this week we had Braden Swinson as our defensive player of the week. So, again, just like we talked about with Jones, you got to give a lot of credit to Bo Davis and Kevin Peoples. I mean, you really do. Obviously, the players put in a lot of time as well. I mean, they get most of the credit, but But let's tip our cap to the coaching staff right now. Braden Swinson has made a big jump, just like Jones. I mean, he looks like a different guy this year. And those were 3 legit sacks. You know, we have to make the call on player of the week pretty early, but we get the tape by Sunday morning. So we woke up, you know, we kind of checked the box scores, who looked like they were productive. And we want to make sure we check the tape before we make those announcements. And without some of Swinson's heat putting on the quarterback last week, who knows how that game would have ended up. I mean, there was a lot of, you know, pivotal plays over the course of that game. If they go one way or the other, would have changed the course of that game. But just the heat being cranked up off the edge by Swinson was big.
I know it made a lot of people happy here because he was somebody that emerged late last year, and they were wanting to see him take that next step, and boy, did he against South Carolina, and everyone's looking forward to the rest of the season. Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. He's on Twitter at @JimNagy_SB. Tell you all the time, follow the Senior Bowl as well at Senior Bowl. You'll get that great information like Braden Swinson being named Defensive Player of the Week. Jim, we appreciate it as always. Thank you, and we'll do it again next week.
All right, Matt. Good luck. Good luck in the game.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. We're going to grab a break. Come back on the other side with more. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
.1. The Alumni Hall College Football Scoreboard. Alumni Hall, your ultimate Tigers shopping destination.
All right, we're about a little under 30 minutes away from the kickoff of the early game, so we'll give you a rundown of what's going on today in college football. Marshall opens up at 11 o'clock against number 3 Ohio State. NC State at number 21 Clemson. No Grayson McCall here today. He has heard the true freshman C.J. Bailey will get his first start on the road against Clemson. The We Need a Win Bowl. Florida at Mississippi State. Okay. You think Florida needs a win, and they do.
Yeah, they do.
Mississippi State, after today, has 8 games left on the schedule. 5 of those games are against the teams currently ranked 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7 in the AP poll. So you best get one while the getting's good today. And do I need to tell you why Florida needs a win?
No. But to add to State, that's also coming off of a blowout against Toledo where you have 40 points in your home field.
That is just
like Toledo's a good MAC team. I get it.
That's ugly with whipped cream on top in Starkville today. Charlotte's at Indiana. Villanova's at Maryland. James Madison's at North Carolina. A couple of teams that are undefeated. Tricky spot here for North Carolina. Houston's at Cincinnati. Kansas, who's off to a surprising 1-2 start, and Jalen Daniels has not played well. They are at West Virginia today, a pair of 1-2 teams. Tulane, we talked about that game with Jimmy. They are in Lafayette to face the Raging Cajuns after 2 games. Tough sledding for them against K-State and Oklahoma. Rice is at Army. 11:45 kickoff for Ohio and Kentucky. Noon kickoff for Ball State at Central Michigan. Arkansas State at number 20 Iowa State. 1 o'clock kickoff also for Virginia and Coastal Carolina, Utah State and Temple. 2 o'clock kickoff for, in St. Francis against Eastern Michigan. 2 o'clock kickoff for Southern Miss at Jacksonville State. Eastern Washington at Nevada. 2:30 kickoff, the 2:30 window. Kent State, who may be the worst team in the country. That's who Mississippi State will play. That would help. At number 10, Penn State. Nittany Lions are a cool 7-touchdown favorite there. At the Big House, Alex Orji makes his first start at quarterback for number 18, Michigan. They play number 11, USC. Miami is at number 17, Notre Dame. Georgia Tech is at number 19, Louisville. Interesting game there. If Louisville wins this game, they kind of set themselves up to be a factor in the ACC race the whole way. Buffalo is at Northern Illinois, who's ranked 23rd in the nation. Arkansas at Auburn. That is a 2:30 kickoff from Jordan Hare. Auburn, the last time they were there. No, they won last week. I'm sorry.
They beat New Mexico because they had Hank Brown in at quarterback.
That's right. It was 2 weeks ago.
That one's also a bit of a pillow fight, I feel like, Arkansas and Auburn.
Rutgers is at Virginia Tech, Central Connecticut at UMass, Youngstown State at Pittsburgh, Arizona State at Texas Tech, conference game. Memphis is at Navy. They'll try and avoid the letdown after upsetting Florida State last week. Houston Christian at UTSA. 3 o'clock kickoff on Fox. Number 12, Utah. Number 14, Oklahoma State. Quarterback Cam Rising for Utah is a game-time decision with a hand injury. He's been the reports out of there have been fluctuating all week. By the way, again, 2 coaches, both 20-year veterans at their school, and both quarterbacks in their 7th year. Duke is at Middle Tennessee. 3:15 kick on the SEC Network for Vanderbilt at number 7, Missouri. 4 o'clock kickoff on the CW. TCU and SMU. UTEP is at Colorado State. 5 o'clock kickoff for Monmouth, Florida International, East Carolina Liberty. 6 o'clock kickoff for number 8, Miami at South Florida. Scheduling 101, what you do not do. You do not go on the road in your state against a team with, I don't want to say nothing to lose, but a team that's going to be.
That's a good team, too, South Florida, Hanny.
Hard sellout. At Raymond James. Hard sellout, and they're not bad. They were right there with Alabama.
Right there.
It was a 5-point game with 6 minutes to go. Alabama got loose late. And Miami's win against Texas A&M, how good does that look?
Right now, Florida.
I'm sorry, against Florida.
Yeah, but no, I got you.
The win against Florida looks worse than the win against Texas A&M.
Tricky spot. If that game's in Coral Gables, well, wherever they play, they don't play in Coral Gables, but you know what I mean. Maybe, but
6 o'clock kickoff for Northwestern in Washington. Florida Atlantic, UConn. Cal is at Florida State. Seminoles 0-3. Cal 3-0, but Florida State a small favorite there. Florida A&M is at Troy. Tulsa's at La Tech. New Mexico State at Sam Houston. Toledo off the big win at Mississippi State is at Western Kentucky. Wyoming at North Texas. 6:30 kickoff in Norman. Number 6 Tennessee. Number 15 Oklahoma. First game in SEC play for the Sooners. 6:30 kickoff as well for Bowling Green and number 25 Texas A&M. Falcons may catch them in a sandwich spot here. A&M goes to Dallas to play Arkansas next week. Akron is at South Carolina. Iowa's at Minnesota. Georgia Southern at number 5 Ole Miss at 6:45. 7 o'clock kickoff from Austin. UL Monroe is at number 1 Texas. Arch Manning will get his first start in place of the injured Quinn Ewers. 7 o'clock kickoff for Boston College and Michigan State. Baylor is at Colorado. 7:30 kickoff for Fresno State and New Mexico. Purdue is at Oregon State. That's not a conference game,
That's not.
by the way.
Not yet. Not yet, at least. Give it time.
8:45 kickoff for Portland State and Boise State. 9:30 kickoff. Number 13, Kansas State at BYU, which is a conference game. And the late game, Northern Iowa at Hawaii on the island. That is an 11 o'clock local kickoff, and that is your college football scoreboard. We're here at Rouse's, your game day headquarters. You know, one of the things you can get here at Rouse's is Supreme Rice. If you're going out tailgating today and you're making some jambalaya, you're making red beans or white beans, stews, later in the year some gumbos, make it with Supreme Rice. Try the new parboiled rice from Supreme Rice to go along with the jasmine, the brown, the long grain, and the medium grain. Supreme Rice has been grown, milled, and processed here in South Louisiana since the 1930s. You're going to get more for your money. You're going to get a delicious product. So pick it up wherever you buy rice, including right here at Rouse's. They're part of the Climate Smart program, ensuring that future generations of Louisiana farmers will enjoy the benefits. They're promoting methane emission reductions and water conservation. For more information and great recipes, go to the website at supremerice.com. From Rouse's, Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Recruiting with Shay Dixon of On3 Sports. Presented by Ralph's Market. Ralph's Market, where quality and customer service are a family tradition.
ESPN Bet Sportsbook at LaBear's, your game day headquarters, your countdown to kickoff. Now some 3 hours and 45 minutes away. We bring in Shay Dixon. Shay, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. How are you?
Doing fantastic. What kind of visitor list are we looking at for today? Which is it's a name non-conference opponent. These always seem to attract a very nice visitor list. I'm sure today's no exception.
No, they've got a very nice visitor list for this one. And it being a 2:30 game, I always talk about how it's kind of tough for kids to get in, notably even out of state. When you play Friday night, your team does film study Saturday, and you got to make it in for a 2:30 game. But some guys move things around. I think the highlight visitor for this current class is obviously DJ Pickett coming all the way from Florida. He's committed to LSU, and Corey Raymond. Obviously, that happened, Charlie, in July. Was a massive recruiting win for Corey on the trail to get the #1 corner in America committed, a top 3 player. And he'll be joined on this one by the other big corner from out of state, Cade Phillips, who Corey Raymond flipped soon after committing to Texas over LSU. Said, hey, look, I've had a change of heart. I'm going to go with LSU. And we've got him all the way up to the #7 corner. I've been saying I think he finishes as a top 5 corner. So both those guys will be on campus. Aiden Andy, the Ruston team, they went over to Longview and got a huge win last night in kind of a border matchup there. So he won't be able to make the game, but that trio of corners is translation, Charlie, help is on the way.
That's good news. We need an update on Jakeem Stewart, the defensive lineman late of St. Aug, now at Carr. I understand he'll be on campus today, but he is still not cleared to play.
Yes, correct. He's at St. Aug, or was at St. Aug, withdrew from the school with the hopes of reclassification. He couldn't do it at St. Aug. He's now at Carr, taking classes, which is the most important part, but not cleared to play football yet on Friday night. So I think the focus for him, if you're going to pull out of Aug and go to Carr and not play and risk sitting, the goal is obviously because you want to reclassify. He's currently in the 26 class. He's hoping to be in this one, which would mean he goes to college for next season. And we still have him, obviously. He's given that he is not reclassified yet as a 2026 prospect, and we have him as the #1 overall player in the entire country, not just on the D-line or not just in Louisiana, but that speaks to the type of talent we're talking about here. He was at the LSU-USC game in Vegas, and now will be at this game. So I've seen LSU a couple of times already in their first 4 games, and I think getting him onto campus is big at any point. Getting him in for a game is certainly noteworthy, and maybe most importantly, when he reclassified, keeping him in state in the Carr in the city was a really big win for people who are hoping to see him land at LSU.
Shay, it feels like an important window for LSU. 2 non-conference games at home, then a week off, then the monster matchup with Ole Miss. 100 years of Tiger Stadium being celebrated that day. Ole Miss will come in here as a top 5 team, and that was just going to be a monster. But after that, they go nearly a month without another home game. So this feels like kind of an important window. Am I making too much out of that?
No, I mean, look, at this stretch going into signing day, Charlie, everything feels like an important window. But right now they're in this balancing act of going on the road at times. Frank Wilson was at that U High Catholic game last night, but also holding firm with all these commits by seeing them, by getting them to campus. And look, the visitor list for this one is long. And then when they get to the bye week, they will start to host at least one official visitor. Has already told me he'll be in. So you're juggling in-season recruiting and obviously coaching, which comes with the territory. But I consider crunch time an important period. Once these seniors get into the eval period of their final year of high school and teams are jockeying for them, and you're LSU, you've got a goal of signing 25 to 30 guys, and you've got 26 commits. So it's so important to hold on right now, Charlie. And I think any time between now and signing day would be considered equally weighted and important.
U-High played Catholic last night. Do we know who won that game? Maybe we can ask
I
Matt.
know who won.
We can maybe ask Matt next segment when he's on.
Yeah.
Good. I don't want to be a part of that.
He'll
I
have the
deal
answer.
with that every time he says it. And I don't have any stock in either school. I just don't need to hear him scream.
Man, I went to Hanson. I'm Switzerland. Okay.
St. Michael, stand up. Shay, I've heard you mention many times, looking back at last year's class, how many guys LSU flipped. When looking at this year's class, anyone maybe on campus today that might be committed somewhere else that we should start to keep an eye on for LSU?
The one notable guy would be, and look, they won't hit the numbers they did last year, which is crazy. Nearly 40% of their signees were guys they flipped, and that included 5 stars. I mean, Don McKinley and Weston Davis and Gabe Relaford, ironically or unironically, all 3 of those were flipped from Texas A&M. But I don't think they'll hit that number this class. They've already had about 3 or 4. That being said, one guy who's done a lot of flips is Brad Davis, and he stayed on a couple of offensive tackles nationally. Solomon Thomas has been committed to Florida State, but another being Mario Nash, who's coming out of Mississippi. And he's committed to Mississippi State. Obviously, Mississippi State's not having the best of seasons, and nor are they projected to kind of turn a corner at any real point. So LSU already has, and Brad Davis has a commitment from the best offensive lineman, the highest-ranked offensive lineman in Mississippi, in Tyler Miller. Now he's got his eyes on the number 2 offensive lineman in Mississippi and trying to flip Mario Nash. Ole Miss is doing the same. So, look, it's a state in Mississippi where if you can get them out of there, it's usually a big win, a coup. I mean, it's tough for Bama, Georgia, LSU to do it. But if one of those teams is down as bad as like a state is right now, I think that you try to get in there as best you can. And look, they got P.J. Woodland last year. He was the 6A Defensive Player of the Year, and now this year already with Tyler Miller committed and trying to flip more guys.
Shay, what's coming up after the game? I know that you talk about it's tough to get them in because of the short window on the front, but the good news is if you do get them here, there's some time for the coaches to spend with them after the game that you don't necessarily get with the late starts. So what's coming up from On 3 after the game?
Yeah, the goal, hopefully, first from LSU is a convincing win here, and then the coaches can say, all right, we can not immediately have to dive into film, and let's spend some time with these guys on campus. So we'll be catching up with all of them, and look, you can go to the Bengal Tiger and check out the full visitor list, but Dunham's Elijah Haven will be back for the second time. Blaine Bradford and his brother Jacob, the 2 Catholic high defensive backs. I mentioned Jakeem Stewart. There is a long list of guys. Harlan Berry, the 5-star running back out of New Orleans, that'll be here today. So an impressive list for what I thought it wouldn't be a big weekend until Ole Miss game. I was wrong. This one turned into a pretty sizable one.
Elijah Haven, huh? Make sure he has a nice time. It would be nice to see him stick around Baton Rouge when he starts playing his college football in 3 years. Shay, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks for having me on, guys.
About 10 minutes away to kickoff of the early game. We're at Rouse's, your tailgating headquarters, Burbank at Lee. Stop by for all your tailgating supplies on your way into campus. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. After further review on Game Day. After further review is heard weekday afternoons at 3 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from AFR, here's Matt Moscona.
Sportsbook at ESPN Bet at LaBerge is your Game Day headquarters. Their countdown to kickoff just a touch over 3.5 hours. We bring Matt Moscona in. Matt, good morning. How are you?
Hey, guys. Doing well. Told Musso off air that you're already getting a bunch of traffic on I-10 at Acadian and Dalrymple. So probably going to have a good crowd, man, an early arriving crowd.
Gordy asked me to ask you if you wanted to do a high school scoreboard before we got in the segment today. I don't know what that's about. If you
I was listening to you all mention that with Shea, and it's always interesting to me how Gordy and Jacob Hester, their schools haven't won a damn thing in a minute, so they have to latch on to U High. And it's interesting as well because massive game for U High. Good, congrats to them. Just another game for Catholic. Tell them all that I'll send them a postcard from the Dome in December.
Couldn't resist. Last week's game against South Carolina, Matt, for me, this is like a sports talk dream. That game had something you could go anywhere you wanted with. If you wanted to highlight the positives of Caden Durham, busting out, or Harold Perkins making a splash, or a comeback win, or an SEC win on the road, you could go in that direction. If you wanted to say, hey, listen, they're still allowing too many big plays. The offensive line is still not, what we thought it would be, and they fell into a 17-0 hole. And if the quarterback doesn't get hurt for South Carolina, they're probably on the wrong end of this score last week. So, with a week to digest this, what were your focus of your takeaways from last week?
Well, I think everything you just said is right, but I'll give you two things. Number one is, in winning that game, mathematically, everything that you want to achieve this year is still on the table. Right? So that's the most important part of this, because it could have gone the other way and you could have lost the game, and then your two losses before you flipped October and playoff and everything is off the table. I'm not telling you this is a playoff team, but mathematically it's still in play. And when LSU lost to Florida State 2 years ago in BK's first game, I don't think anybody was thinking LSU was going to win the West and beat Alabama. So teams can improve, and you at least leave yourself mathematically open for that. I'll tell you that's one piece of it. The other is, it's an objective fact that every team in the history of sports, in any league, in anything, when a season's over, you're going to look back and say, one game was the best game you played all year, and one game was the worst game you played all year. Last week was hideous at every level, on both sides. LSU, South Carolina, offense, defense, special. It was awful. It was an awful game to watch. My hope is that when the season's over, we look back at LSU and say that was the worst game they played all year, and you still managed to find a way to win.
The addition of Chris Hilton today could potentially open some things up. I don't want to put too much on this, but when you do have another deep threat, there's the potential to open things up. Will Chris Hilton's return today be a big deal or not?
I don't know if it will be today, but it will be this season. I was looking actually at Pro Football Focus numbers earlier today, oddly, and C.J. Daniels just played something like 80% of his snaps out wide. And I think not only will Chris Hilton's return allow the stretch the field, blow the top off a defense type component in the passing game. Sorry, Drew keeps saying hi.
That's okay. Hey, Drew.
We love Drew.
I need to not do this interview and have Drew in the car with me, because this happens like every time we talk. But anyway, I think not only that, but it's also going to, I think, open up C.J. Daniels even more in his component in this passing game, which, he's probably been playing a little out of position, I think, so far through the first 3 games. So I think for many, many reasons, Chris Hilton's return is going to be great for LSU offensively. And I'm, on a personal level, excited to see Chris Hilton, because that's a dude who's a local kid who's waited 4 years for his opportunity, and now he's missed a quarter of his season. To miss games for anybody stinks. To miss a quarter of your season is just, I feel for him. So I'm very hopeful for a lot of reasons that Chris Hilton goes and has not only big day today, but a big rest of his season.
They made the adjustment with Harold Perkins last week. It looked a little bit different. Still, there were big plays that South Carolina was able to bust. How do you see the defense moving forward? Has there been improvement from week 1 to week 3, or is this still a team with a lot of defensive issues?
Well, they got a lot of issues, but what's so interesting, so 2 parts to that. One about Perkins. Last week they played him at the Sam, and I think that was necessitated by what Carolina was doing. They wanted to be in like a true 3-linebacker set. We had heard last week that he was repping at the Star. So against UCLA today, I think we're probably going to see more of a like 4-2-5 set with Perkins playing at Star. And so that's going to be really interesting to see how he may fit there. The really interesting about the rush defense, guys, is, man, hi, Drew. I'm so sorry, guys. The real interesting thing about the rush defense is 45% of the rushing yardage they've allowed this year is on 3 plays. A 75-yarder, a 67-yarder, and a 66-yarder. That's 45% of the yards on 3 plays. Now, it's part of an average. You can't take it out. I'm not the guy saying, well, take those plays away. They happen. But I think the key is, like the 75-yarder, Sage Ryan's got to break down and get a hand on Lenora Sellers, because even if that play breaks past the first 2 levels, that's fine. But limit him to a 25-yard run, not a 75-yard run that's changing the scoreboard. So if you're asking where can they improve, that's where they can improve. I'm not saying you're going to be perfect, but what we've seen pretty consistently is LSU is not giving up 6, 8, 10, 9-yard runs consistently in the running game. They're pretty consistent, and then they get gashed. So limit those big plays.
Matt, we'll let you and Drew enjoy the rest of your game day whiskey and wine following LSU UCLA.
Yeah, T-Bob and I will be at Don Juan, and hopefully, guys, we have a stress-free whiskey and wine.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Not a chance. Not a chance.
well, not necessarily. I mean, T-Bob will cause stress, but maybe the game won't cause stress.
It's a nice idea, but not a chance. Matt, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. See you.
We are here at Rouse's, your game day headquarters. We're right here in front of the Mongolian Grill, which you got the Chop House. You've got the huge beer cooler over here. Lots of beer, lots of wine, lots of spirits, and then if you go to the other side of the store, all of your meats, all of your, your items that you need for the tailgate, your paper plates, your plastic forks, your garbage bags, ton of ice, lots of water left over. Sitting here behind about 3 or 4 big pallets full of water left over from storm prep. So come by and get your bottle of water. Need to hydrate today. Over 90 degrees head kickoff today. And we're about to kick off the early game, so we'll get that going, and we'll hear from the guys on OTB when we return here at Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The best kept secret in town.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Off the bench on Game Day. Presented by Shell. Shell is the rhythm of Louisiana. Off the Bench is heard weekday mornings at 7 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from OTB, here's T-Bob Hebert.
All right, so UCLA. There's a reason why LSU is 20-something point favorites here. It is a bit of a disaster here in year one for Deshaun Foster. And it's not that hard to understand outside looking in. Like, I know we'll point to the Foster press conference and be like, oh, clearly he was in over his head and everything else. And I'm not saying that there's no, like, I understand drawing that line, right? I understand drawing that conclusion. But, I mean, just think about what happened to UCLA this offseason. Losing Chip Kelly out of nowhere to be another team's offensive coordinator. So you go from one of the premier college head football coaches of our time, not an exaggeration, and he leaves you to go be an OC. You have D'Anton Lynn, your superstar D coordinator that completely changed your defense, made them a great group top to bottom. He leaves and goes to the other Los Angeles school. He probably didn't even move. You have Dante Moore, your 5-star quarterback that admittedly was raw last year, leave to go be a backup at Oregon. And then so you're feeling very insecure. It's an awful time to have to hire somebody when Chip Kelly left. You say, hey, what do we do? And you go with the UCLA guy. You go with Deshaun Foster, great NFL player. You know, can he recruit as a passer for the school? All these sorts of things. The problem is everything. Nothing has worked out. Recruiting's nothing to write home about. Deshaun Foster's really raw to all of this stuff. And so in the end, you have just an impossible mixture of adversity to overcome, and it's showing on the field. Right now, UCLA's offense, let's just look at the run game, Jake. They only run it 23 times a game, partially a function of being behind as much as they were against Indiana, but that is by far the least in the conference. They only run it for 83 yards a game, which is least in the conference by a full 50 yards. They only average 3.6 yards per carry, which is also dead last in the Big Ten.
Their starting running back is 2.7 yards per carry.
They have 1 touchdown, which is dead last. Again, and remember, the Big Ten is 18 teams now. They're 18th in all of these categories. They're dead last in scoring offense. They've only scored 14.5 points a game. The only team that is under 20. Okay, but they can't run the ball. Maybe they throw it well, right? Ethan Garber's their starting quarterback, completing 54% of his passes, a little over 200 yards a game, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. They average 6.7 yards per attempt, second to last in the Big Ten. This is an offense that is broken and flawed and good at nothing. And it is the exact confidence builder and get right game for this LSU defense, which also statistically doesn't look great on paper for what it's worth. Now, again, granted, I think they've played a harder schedule than most have, but like, Jake, I feel that for this young D-line, for a secondary that's kind of trying to find themselves, and for a group that I maintain is better coached, they just they're on the right path. This game represents a chance to have a solid statistical day and go out there and feel good about yourself.
When you look at what they don't do well and, what you've kind of struggled with, yeah, I agree with you. You've given up explosive plays in the run game. It hasn't really been through the air, right? I mean, think about all the things that we talked about in the preseason leading into it, because last year it was bombs over Baghdad. It's like you had so many MAs in coverage.
Yeah, has there been a big busted coverage? I mean, guys have beat you one-on-one, making great plays, but I'm trying to think. I don't know that. I
mean, not for like a heavy hitter. There's been like a coverage where the safety goes too far into the flat when he's got the middle third and you've given up a 15 to 18-yard hit. There's been that, but there hasn't been a play where nobody's on the screen but the opposing team as they go into the end zone like we saw so many times last year. It's been in the run game, but this is a great opportunity. TJ Harden, who last year ran for over 800 yards at UCLA. Well, this year, 21 carries, 57 yards, 2.7 yards per carry, and only one single touchdown. That's their one rushing touchdown. They lost so much when they lost Chip Kelly, obviously. The play design, some of their offensive linemen, the tight ends that they're used to having here that you have to have if you want to run this type of offense, they don't have that. So this is a great opportunity for you to get right in the run game. And if you don't, that's even more troublesome and worrisome if you can't get right against a team right now that as a team has 167 yards through 2 games.
Yeah, again, I have a lot of faith in the edges, and I think that's a group for LSU that's only going to continue to gain in confidence. I want to see the interior flash some here. I want to see them have some success. I want to see the linebackers play downhill. Of course, like Jake's saying, we want to see the run fits be better from the safeties and the linebackers, because while there haven't been the passing busted coverages, obviously there have been basically the run busted coverages, the run busts that have led to the big plays. But yeah, I mean, again, like I said from day one, guys, must smash this weekend. And the more you look at the game, the more you look at the statistics, LSU should run away with this, especially being in Death Valley there. All right, let's look at the LSU offense. Like we said, UCLA's offense is god-awful, okay? LSU's defense must use this as a chance to gain in confidence. UCLA's offense only is converting 28% of their third downs. They're the only sub-30 team in the Big Ten, so take advantage. UCLA's defense, not much better. The rush defense is fine. It's kind of inflated by the Hawaii game. Pass defense, second to last, right? The thing is, so let's look at it. The defense is bad as well. Jake, what is the number one thing that you want to see out of LSU's offense on Saturday?
Caden Durham continue to grow, continue to gain confidence, and maybe take over as RB1. You'll still run a running back by committee, but I just think that LSU needs somebody to take that over. Now, we've talked about it often. You can be a running back by committee and still have an RB1. Like in 2007, I led in carries, but we were going to play Charles. We were going to play Keelan. We were going to play Trendon. We were going to play Richard. Like, all those guys were going to play. Like, I got a bulk of the carries, and we spread it out, amongst us. I don't know what the percentages would be, but, like, we still all got touches. Like, that's okay, and I still want LSU to do that because they have, different backs with different skills. But I would love to see Caden Durham say, nope, I'm RB1. This is going to be what it is moving forward, because last week was highly impressive.
Taylor, what about you?
When you get into goal-to-go situations, you have to score touchdowns. That's what kept South Carolina in that game. Because if you think about it, you were inside the 12-yard line twice, came away with 0 points. It's 14 points. You would have had over 50. This is not a ball game at that point. You win by 17. You don't win by 3. I get it. UCLA's not that great, but, I mean, they're also a Big Ten team. You let them hang around long enough, you don't want that to happen. You have to score when you get inside goal-to-go situations.
Well, the thing is, even though the stats aren't terrible in red zone, they're not great, they're not terrible, but, 3 times inside the 5 this year to come away with no points is too many. Way too many. And you can hear Brian Kelly, because, people are like, take the points, and even in his press conference, he dropped a line in. It was very subtle. he dropped a line in about like, I think it's like an 83% chance to score a touchdown there. Basically saying like, I'm trying to play the odds here. Like the fact that so if it's an 83% chance every time, that means it's a 1/5 that and you haven't scored 3. It's 1/5 times 1/5 is 1/25 times another 5. What's 1 out of 125? Because like napkin math says that is the percentage chance that you would get there 3 times and not score a touchdown. So that's got to be fixed. You mentioned not letting him hang around, and you linked a good article here from – go ahead.
Sorry, but to Taylor's point, don't try to be something you're not down there as well. I know that we all think of LSU as hey, we're going to line up, we're going to run load power, you can't stop us. That's who we are. That's who we were. You and I, when we played. And it's okay not to be that. And some people get mad when I say that and like, oh, we got to be tough. Toughness is not the issue. I think it's just who you've recruited, what you are, and what you have been. You haven't been a team that's going to line up with all these tight ends. You don't have a lot of tight ends. You've got one Y, one that's trying to figure out how to be a Y, and one that's an F.
Yeah.
All right. You're moving offensive linemen to tight end in the game because you're deficient there to what that's trying to be. Spread them out. Mm-hmm. Play play your offense. Like when you try to get everything to beef back up and that's just not who you are. And again, that is okay because you've made a lot of, plays offensively since you haven't been that, right? I mean, when's the last time LSU was that team? It's been 6-7 years, and that's okay. But when you get down there, and I credit them for trying. I mean, they tried a full house backfield.
I'm about to say, I kind of like the full house package.
Well, that's great, but that's just not who you are. I mean, you had to go bring a defender over there.
He did good, though. You saw that first block.
Well, I know. Well, he went to Evangelo. He's threw one great. Of course he did. But you know what I mean? Like, down there, just don't assume you have to do something. I'm not saying that you can't, but I think your game is more spreading everything out because that's who you've recruited to. You have a quarterback that understands the situations, and right now you haven't been good on goal line situations or any short yardage situations when you've tried to do that.
And a lot of those short yardage, though, you have tried to spread it out and it hasn't worked. I definitely agree with maybe commit to an identity, no matter what you want to be, but the execution's got to be higher either way.
They spread it out, though, but with the tight end, then a receiver motioning in to be on the edge.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's
I'm thinking
not really
about like
spreading it out.
Yeah. Either way, they got like that 3rd and 1 last week, very beginning of the game. You need to get a first down. South Carolina went a good extended drive. You need to keep the ball for a little bit, let the defense catch their breath, get a little confidence in yourself, and a pass blocking bust leads you to end up with an incompletion where you're trying to spread it out and you had it. I mean, it was open to hit right there, but you didn't execute. So, yeah, I agree with y'all. A short yardage, red zone, execution has to be higher, and I hadn't really thought about it as much is starting faster. You've only scored 9 first quarter points, and they all came against Nichols. And that's been interesting because this offense has been really good. I mean, the second half against South Carolina was an absolute masterclass. Like I said, third quarter, you outgained them like 175-1 or whatever it was. Even USC, you had a strong opening drive, but you don't come away with points. That has to change, especially against a team like UCLA, which is bad, which has no confidence, which is brittle and ready to break. Don't give them hope. Go ahead and break them early.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Opposing Media. Presented by Rev. Rev. Fiber fast internet made in Louisiana.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day from Rouse is on to Burbank and Lee, continuing to count you down. Take a closer look at the Bruins. Earlier this week, Matt Moscona sat down with Brian Finley, UCLA post-game host on AM 570, to do just that.
Hey, Brian, welcome back, man. How are you?
I'm great. Great to be talking to you again.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it. Look, no other way to say it. I mean, it's been a rough start. Give me some context on what it's like around the Bruins program right now, 2 games and 3 weeks into the season.
Yeah, I would say, honestly, the energy is pretty low right now. I think people thought that Eric Bieniemy would have the offense rolling by this stage, and clearly that hasn't come yet. Not to say it won't come, but it hasn't come. There's been reports about, his system being really complex and the guy's not really getting it. And I think the biggest struggle right now is the offensive line. But if you go on social media, Matt, I've never heard of a one-loss team. I mean, UCLA did get beat in their Big Ten home opener, but it was as if that one loss meant that there was going to be a loss every game the rest of the year. And I'm not saying that can't happen. Of course, there is a possibility. But the fans took one loss, one lopsided loss, and now are saying to themselves, they don't even think UCLA is going to win another game this year. And I'm not going to go that far.
Okay. We can pull up big picture in a second. Let's kind of narrow the focus a little bit. So you mentioned struggles on the offensive line. What is sort of the culprit there?
The culprit is that UCLA has not done a good job in recruiting. And the way that Chip Kelly left the program, he left it after sort of the coaching cycle had passed, and a lot of the transfers and that market and all of that had passed as well. So UCLA under Deshaun Foster was put in a really tough position. They have 2 transfers on the O-line that they were able to snag. The problem is they're not getting any push on the offensive line. And this is a team that is a really good running back, and they're not able to exploit that. And the pass protection might be the only thing that this team is okay at. Beyond that, you get tight ends, you get running backs that are trying to block, pick up guys that are rushing for the quarterback, and they're missing their blocks. There's a lot of miscommunication going on, a lot of missed assignments, and the UCLA, their offense, has scored over the first 2 games a total of 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown per game. That is not going to get it done. And too many times the offense puts the defense in a horrible position because all of a sudden it's 14-0 before you know it. And now you're forcing things. And there's a lot of chaos going on right now. And I get the state of the program and where it is. But, I mean, the predecessor of a head coach, he deserves some of the blame too, because UCLA. I mean, Deshaun Foster was the running backs coach for the Raiders. He had left the program. They brought him back to be the head coach after Chip decided to leave. After a lot of the coaching carousel merry-go-round opportunities come and pass, and it's just a team that is hurting for depth right now. I think at the O-line position, and they're just not. They don't have the quality right now.
What is the strength, perceived or otherwise, on the offensive side?
The strength is the wide receivers. They got Rico Flores, a transfer from Notre Dame, who is outstanding. They just can't get the ball to him. They've got Michael Sturdivant, a transfer from Cal, and they can't get the ball to these guys. They've got arguably one of the best wide receiver cores in the conference of the Big Ten, and they can't get the ball to them. They can't convert on third downs. They can't stay on the field. I think UCLA maybe converted 3 third downs on offense in their game against Indiana. They have really solid running back play, but it's the same saga over and over. It's you go 3 and out, you go 3 and out. You can't develop a rhythm, and you've got a veteran presence and a quarterback who's very familiar with UCLA. He's a redshirt senior, transfer from Washington. His brother was the quarterback for many years at Cal. And you've got Ethan Garbers as the QB. And look, I love the guy, but he's lost out there. And I'm not saying it's his fault. He's talked a little bit, Matt, about how the guys are going over to each other's houses and studying the playbook like it's a homework assignment, even the week going into a game. And, I've never heard that before. And I know Eric Bieniemy's offense is really complex, and he's got a great history. But I don't know how much Eric is willing to adapt and to be willing to say, hey, maybe I shouldn't be as set in my ways, and I need to adapt to the new age college kid and simplify things. Because I think right now there's no simplification in the offense. And you look at Ethan Garbers, he's locking onto receivers before he throws, and he's throwing picks. Guys just aren't in the right positions, running routes, blocking schemes. Offensively, they're in a really tough spot right now.
Brian Finley's our guest. He's on Twitter at Brian Finley, Bryan, if you want to give him a shout there on Twitter X. Hey, flip it over, Brian. Obviously, it's not been good offensively. Defensively, the game against Hawaii was competitive. I mean, it came down to a field goal right there at the end, but Indiana really got going. Which is more likely the UCLA we continue to see, the defense that was there against Hawaii on the island, or the defense there in the Rose Bowl against Indiana last Saturday?
Yeah, I think the problem with the UCLA defense right now is there are some holes in the secondary. And with the run-and-shoot offense that Hawaii did, and I think even Indiana at times, UCLA, and they would be the first to tell you, they're getting burned on the quick hitters. The quick catch and run up the field. UCLA is playing too conservative with their coverage, and so wide receivers are getting the ball in space. And you're getting chunk plays. They're getting electrifying plays. And the problem is that UCLA doesn't have a pass rusher. Leatu Latu, the first rounder, onto the NFL. They haven't been able to really dig into the transfer portal and get somebody good. And then the other problem is, Matt, arguably their best player on defense, who is an NFL guy, Jay Toia, reports are this week, he is basically an interior defensive lineman. He's our only hope. There are reports that he hasn't been practicing this week because of an injury. So the best part of the defense is the linebacking core. Kane Medrano is our only hope. We have a lack of dudes on the line. We can't develop a pass rush. So as I've heard others talk about, maybe against LSU, you drop 8 and you see what you can do and get back into coverage. But I did see an adjustment for the defense in the second half against Hawaii, where they did play tighter coverage with the corners. That seemed to help. But you got to be able to score, and UCLA right now, they just can't do that right now.
Brian, is there anything that you look at with this team right now and say, here's a reason to believe they can turn the corner?
They have a coach that loves this university, and he is going to recruit hard. I'm not saying that he's going to turn it around this year. Sure. I would love to see that. But here's the one thing, Matt, that I've noticed is that coaches, you love the fiery coaches, because you're looking at ways to motivate players. I love Deshaun Foster. Deshaun Foster, and he'd be the first to tell you, he's an introvert. He's not the fiery guy on the sideline. He's not going to, scream during games and get his guys riled up. And the same thing could be said for the quarterback. Ethan Garbers is a little bit more soft-spoken. So when you've got the face of your team pretty quiet and a coach that's a little quiet, this team, and and they were called out a little bit in practice this week from reports based on not having enough energy in practice. So who are the guys that are going to bring the energy? Who are the enforcers? Who are the guys that are going to say, it doesn't have to be the head coach, but coaches to come in and say, guys, what are we doing out there? Holding people accountable and bringing an energy. I would love to incentivize the players. I know Ole Miss, they have they bring a basketball hoop out, on the sidelines. The guys are dunking, or they're wearing like chains and clocks, like they're Flava Flav or something. Like like UCLA, they need to do something like that, because right now there's a lethargy that I think I love Deshaun, but there needs to be energy there to get these guys going and kind of push them a little bit harder, because right now they're kind of going with the emotional mood of the coach, and that's just who he is. He's just a calm demeanor guy, and he's more of a guy who's gonna walk the walk and not just talk the talk.
Brian, I got a couple more things for you.
Sure.
I am also really interested in UCLA's travel this year. Fox put up a graphic that was like the UCLA travel schedule.
Yeah.
And it's like the plane going from LA to Hawaii, then back to LA, then to Baton Rouge, and then back to LA, and then to Penn State across the country.
Yeah.
It's insane. How much of a conversation is this, the travel, and how this might weigh on this team as well?
I think it definitely is an issue, no question. I mean, your first game, you're going out to Hawaii. You've got, as you said, we're going to go out to Rutgers, Penn State, all of these other teams that are on the East Coast. But at the end of the day, this is what UCLA signed up for.
Yep.
This is an athletic program that really is in the red. They needed to join this conference to allow themselves to get out of the red. There is a huge financial deficit within the UCLA athletic program. And so with that, they needed to take these vast and desperate measures. And so this is what they're going to get. I still don't know how they're going to do on some of those road trips that you said, like they're going out to the East Coast. One of the problems with UCLA is the first two games, they get really rattled emotionally. Some of the players have talked about this, where it's like they let their emotions take over too much. They get too charged up, maybe nerves, maybe it's apprehension. And you're going into these big environments like LSU. The UCLA has never seen a crowd like this. Obviously, as you pointed out, they've never played at LSU, but I don't know how they're going to handle that environment, the players. Is it going to be overwhelming? Probably. Does that mean they're going to lose? I mean, a lot of people think they are, and, most people are probably right in that sense of where the team stands right now. But the way the team handles itself early in games in those big environments, in these big venues, whether it's like, you said, it's Penn State, it's LSU, UCLA is the cool temper. They're way too emotional, and they make mistakes. I mean, the first play from scrimmage against Indiana for UCLA last week was a fumble. The very first play. You had a bye week the week before. You had 2 weeks after going into Hawaii and trailing in that game for 59 and a half of the 60 minutes, finally making the field goal at the very, very end to win the game. And then you get 2 weeks, and then the very first play from scrimmage, Ethan Garbers fumbles the football, Indiana falls on it. There's something there emotionally where the guys need to be kept in check here, and that's why these major environments are going to be scary.
Hey, Brian, last thing. If there is a blueprint for UCLA to pull, which sounds like it would be a really significant upset, if there is a blueprint, what does that look like?
That's a great question, Matt. And I think that what's going to have to be done is that you're going to have to show some sort of balance in the run game and the pass game. In studying up on LSU this week, I know that, offensive line hasn't been getting the ravest of reviews. So if UCLA can somehow generate a pass rush, if they can get out of their own way in the form of penalties, I know LSU has had some issues with penalties in the season to start and getting themselves behind the sticks. If UCLA can manage that, if they can make it competitive going into the fourth quarter, to me, that is a win. What does that look like? If UCLA goes into the fourth quarter and they're within 2 touchdowns, I'm going to be very, very happy.
Okay.
Honestly, Matt, that's where I am right now. But developing some sort of synergy, running game has just gone nowhere. The passing game isn't great. Get guys the rock in open space, and defensively find a pass rush. I haven't seen it yet. If it's going to show up against an offensive line like LSU, that would be our only hope.
He's Brian Finley, Fox Sports Radio, and you'll hear him for the UCLA postgame show there on AM 570. Man, it's what the UCLA fans that are going to make the trip, but it'll be a cultural experience, I'll tell you that much. Brian, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there.
98.1. The Dependable Storage College Football Scoreboard. Dependable Storage. Let us store your stuff. DependableStorage.com.
All right, early games are underway at the Shoe. Marshall took their opening drive and converted 3 third downs before they punched it in, but Ohio State has matched the score with a Will Howard touchdown. They are knotted at 7 halfway through the first quarter, Ohio State and Marshall. Number 21, Clemson, up big early on NC State, 21-0. Cole Klubnik has thrown 2 touchdown passes and run for 1. The freshman C.J. Bailey for NC State getting the start in place of Grayson McCall has an early turnover. He lost a fumble. Florida, Graham Mertz touchdown. They are ahead of Mississippi State 7-0 in Starkville. About 3.5 minutes to go in the first quarter there. Indiana leads Charlotte 10-0 at the end of 1. Near the end of the first quarter, Maryland leads Villanova 17-0. About 6 minutes to go in the first quarter at Chapel Hill. James Madison leads North Carolina 11-7.
You said something about a tricky spot,
It
Hanny?
is a little tricky spot. I'm not saying they're going to lose, just a little bit of a tricky spot. Cincinnati leads Houston 14-0 late first quarter at the end of 1. West Virginia leads Kansas 7-0. UL Lafayette leads Tulane 7-0. That is nearing the end of the first quarter at what they are doing a renovation at Cajun Field. I had heard about it. It was the first time I've actually seen it. The entire one side from goal line to goal line is basically roped off, where they are adding luxury boxes, club seating, etc. And the capacity will be up over 30,000 when they finish this thing. But it is awfully strange looking to look at it and see completely empty seating on an entire side of the stadium. But they've got the early lead over Tulane 7-0. Army 7-0 over Rice at the end of one, and the Cadets are knocking on the door. They are inside the 5-yard line to go up 2 scores. Games later today involving ranked teams. Arkansas State is at number 20, Iowa State. That's a 1 o'clock kick. Kent State at number 10, Penn State. 2:30 kickoff there. Also 2:30 kickoff for number 11, USC at number 18, Michigan. Michigan has changed quarterbacks. Alex Orji will be your starter today. The junior USC comes in off of a bye week last week. Number 17, Notre Dame hosts Miami of Ohio. That's at 2:30. Also at 2:30, Georgia Tech's at number 19, Louisville. Buffalo is at Northern Illinois. 3 o'clock kickoff on Fox. Number 12, Utah. Number 14, Oklahoma State. And a big game as far as Big 12 ramifications go. Cam Rising, the quarterback for Utah, will be a game-time decision with a hand injury. We've seen no further movement of the line since the games kicked off this morning. Number 7, Missouri is hosting Vanderbilt. SEC Network at 3:15. 6 o'clock tonight on ESPN. Number 8, Miami goes to South Florida. Sellout crowd expected at Raymond James Stadium for the Bulls. 6:30 kickoff. Game day is in Norman for number 6, Tennessee, and number 15, Oklahoma. This will be the first conference game in the SEC for the Sooners. 6:30 kickoff in College Station. Bowling Green comes in to face number 25, Texas A&M. Georgia Southern is at number 5, Ole Miss. UL Monroe is at number 1, Texas. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff in Austin. It'll be the first start in college for Arch Manning. He is in place of the injured Quinn Ewers. They could sit him next week, too, against Mississippi State if they want.
Yeah.
Because after that, they get a bye. And then it's the most important 2-week stretch of the season for Texas. They play Oklahoma and then Georgia. So I wouldn't be surprised if not only that Manning starts this week, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts next week too. That would give viewers nearly a month. It's an oblique injury, which can linger if you don't let it heal.
No, for sure. I don't disagree. That makes the most sense. It seems like a prudent plan of action. You know Arch Manning's capable. At least he's given you no reason so far to believe that he's not.
And the 9:30 game tonight on ESPN, number 13, Kansas State is at BYU, pair of 3-0 teams there. Nothing quite says Big 12 football like Provo, Utah, right?
How about that, man? Tough place to play, though, Hanny. Provo,
no, it's a very
Utah,
tough
place to play.
It's a very tough place to play. It's just not what I think of when I think of the Big 12.
Of course not, no.
But I've had to adjust all of my thinking.
Yes,
so
indeed.
It's okay. We're here at Rouse's. No need to adjust anything if you come in here for tailgating supplies because you're going to get everything you need. We're on the left-hand side of the store where you can get all your beer, wine, and spirits, as well as the chop house, the bakery. Lots of things you can bring to the tailgate from here. You don't have to worry about doing the cooking. All your bottled water, all of your soft drinks, plus a ton of ice, meats, and tailgating items, paper towels, paper plates. Get it all here at Rouse's. We're very, very short drive to Tiger Stadium here at Burbank and Lee. We'll take a break. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The best kept secret in town.
98.1. By Super Chevy. Talkin' Tigers. Talkin' Tigers. Wide receiver C.J. Daniels.
As good as we want to be, honestly. I feel like the sky's the limit. And with this team going into an SEC school that was sold out, it's hard to do. It's hard to come out with a win. And I think we did a lot of perseverance. So, I think the sky's the limit for this team.
Cornerback Ashton Stamps.
It's really big. Zai, he's a veteran player, so he's been in the game for a little minute. So with Zai, he's out there fighting. He's coming off an injury, so he's going out there fighting, just showing what it is to be a leader. Because he's not all the way comfortable out there, but he's giving it his all. So those are the type of guys you need on the team, just motivate you.
Defensive lineman Braden Swinson.
We got a mindset that we come to work every day, and we just want to continue to work, and get better every day. So it's every week we're looking at something new to get better. If that's getting better in the run, or if it's getting better in just pass coverage, or just overall just being disruptive. So that's basically the main thing they make us focus on and everything.
Wide receiver C.J. Daniels.
Coming in, I'm not really much of a vocal guy. I'm kind of to myself, but these coaches, they gave their trust in me, and I trust them as well. So they wanted me to be more vocal, and I definitely think I'm coming along better with that, just helping out leading.
Cornerback Ashton Stamps.
We definitely making strides. It's really, that position, in the secondary, it's hard. You're going to get plays made on you, it's the SEC. So you just got to learn, some of the plays we just, we got to go by and just go on to the next play.
Defensive lineman Braden Swinson.
It kind of reflects on everything that I've been through in my process, really. Being at Oregon for 3 years, coming here last year, getting a little bit more experience, and then this year taking on a bigger role. Doing something like that, it builds your confidence up. You already have a feeling in the back of your mind of what you think you are, and then when you go out there and do it, it's a difference, when you actually go do it, so you know what you are.
Wide receiver C.J. Daniels.
I think for us, it's just to start fast. I think that's the biggest thing for us, come out and start fast and, just play through all 4 quarters. For us, this early game, Coach really emphasizes, getting off to a good start and, just attacking each and every rep. And, we're very excited to go out and play in front of our home crowd, and I think we're gonna do a great job this weekend.
Cornerback Ashton Stamps.
It's good, in Tiger Stadium, we usually play most of our games, night games, so just being able to play during the day, Coach prepped us during the week, we had the storm, so we had to come in early, practice early in the morning. So it just, it flew together. So we just, it wasn't a surprise to us. We were kind of ready for it.
Defensive lineman Braden Swinson.
We're trying to be nasty, we're trying to be violent, dominant, and we all trying to fly to the ball. I know you see, if somebody breaks a long run, we're all trying to, somehow trying to get there, I think that's what we're really trying to just be, a violent defense, bring back that old LSU defense that everybody loved, that you just running through somebody's helmet, you just running through somebody's face every time, That's our main thing.
Wide receiver C.J. Daniels.
I think just eliminating all the mental errors. I think we had a lot of mental errors that played a big part of us being down 17 points. But, like I said, this team there's no limit on what we can do. And us just battling adversity with great maturity, like being down 17 and not being phased, that really shows the grit that we have and what we can do as a team.
Cornerback Ashton Stamps.
We just moving forward, just focus on the little details, as you just said, it's the small stuff that, 2 or 3 plays that, it turned into big plays. Like, we look at the bigger picture, we play, good defense, good offense. So if we just fix the little stuff, you don't know how good we can be as a group.
Talking Tigers. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Keys to the V. Presented by Coors Light. Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill.
All right, we bring in Rich Dixon. Will be with me on post-game tonight. And, of course, you can get Rich and I on the new Handycast, where we've included the film session this year. So you can please go to YouTube and subscribe, watch. We give you a lot of different stuff, and we're going to be adding some more. So get on over and subscribe to Handycast, and Rich and I'll break some film down for you. Mostly him. He's real good at this. Rich, good afternoon. How are you? Good morning. Almost good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Just watching a little State versus Florida right now.
Hey, if Mississippi, you got all these ties in the state of Mississippi. If Mississippi State beats Florida, does Napier make it back to campus? I'm talking about tonight.
Isn't that how Ron Zook got fired? Mississippi State beat him.
Might have been.
Got fired the day after that game.
Might have been. I'm not even being incredulous when I say that if they lose to Mississippi State here, they will fire him before breakfast tomorrow. I'm just guessing. You know,
I mean, it's just not looking good.
It's one of those ones. And for Mississippi State, we were looking at this earlier. They've got 8 games left after today. Okay, we're still early in the season. 5 of those 8 games are against teams that are currently ranked in the top 7 in the country. So if you don't get this one, it's hard to find a lot of other wins for Mississippi State. But their coach, you know, he's in his first year. He's got some political capital.
Grace period there.
Napier does not enjoy any such benefit. So, Rich, one of the things we spent a lot of time on the podcast talking about, and yesterday on the Daily Show as well, is the third down and shorts. Third down and 1 to 3. You went back and looked at all of these situations over the last 9 years, and what you found is that LSU has never had to throw the ball this much in these short yardage situations. Small sample size, but that's a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that it was, especially when you get to converting on the run with a first down, it was something like 30% lower than any other year over the last 9 years. And it's, you know, we're completing over conversion on 60-something%. I'll just stick with the pass right now until I see something that can improve in the run game where those guys get a push.
Well, so at what point do defenses start to adjust to you a little bit? We're looking at there's been 16 third and shorts. This is 3 or less. They're converting 25% of the runs and 63% of the passes, and they've had exactly the same amount of runs as passes. So, Rich, that's a massive deal. And not only their ability to not be able to run the football in short yardage with the running backs, but Nussmeier doesn't give you that running component in that situation. I think that hurts them as well.
Yeah, it's something that, you know, they just got to be more creative with, because I really believe Nussmeier can do it. He hadn't been given the opportunity, but he's got to pull a few just to make those defensive guys have something else to look at.
That's, you know, so we're talking about zone reads here, but what about the times where he's got an opportunity to take off? And have you seen a lot of those where, you know, their people covered, he's got an opportunity to take off?
There's been a few, but, I mean, well, you saw one against the Nicholls State where he got one for 12 yards and got a first down. He just has to make up his mind, make a decision, do it more often, and take what's given to him.
Defensively, what did you think of Harold Perkins a week ago and this 4-3 alignment with him on the strong side?
He was visible. It was the first time we've just seen him in a lot of situations to make plays. You saw him impact the game, and I really like the way they did it.
Tell me, as a former player, how you prepared for a game that's going to be this hot. I mean, you can't start hydrating 2 hours before the game. This is a ramp-up that starts way earlier in the week when you know it's going to be over 90 degrees today. The entire game's going to be played in the sunlight, and, man, it's just going to be an unbearable heat for those players.
Well, no doubt hydration started Wednesday. I mean, you had to be as hydrated as you were going to be Thursday. It's been a point of emphasis. I'm sure that they've been talking about it, making sure they stayed drinking as much water as possible, because, like you said, you can't start drinking water on Friday and hope to be hydrated on Saturday.
So when you say you start drinking water on Wednesday, what I mean, we're talking about before the colonoscopy amount of water, or how much water are we talking about here?
We try to say a gallon a day.
A gallon a day.
A gallon a day.
Is it enjoyable to drink a gallon of water
No.
a day?
The first half gallon goes down really easy. You kind of chug it. You're trying to knock it down. The last couple glasses really suck.
I mean, you spend the day in the bathroom. Do you have to spread it out? I mean, you can't just drink down a gallon of water. I mean, that's not really possible, right?
No, it's just like adding 8 pounds to your stomach.
And so when do you start to reap the benefits of that in the game?
You know, most of these guys, to be honest, you stay hydrated when you're playing sports. You might add a little bit more, drink a little bit more electrolytes. Those guys are going to be taking their salt tablets today. There's a bunch of other things they can do to make sure that they prevent themselves from cramping up.
You vary your pregame meal any?
No, you just might add a little bit more salt to it.
Okay.
I do that.
That sounds
I do
good.
that anyway.
Yeah, what to say?
Didn't the doctor tell us to stop?
Yeah, well.
No, me. I'm not talking about you.
Yeah, this day and age, I'm not allowed to have the salt I used to take.
All of that salt, not as good for you. All right, Rich, UCLA, tough start for them. eked out a win against Hawaii, got demolished by Indiana. I know you say it's more about LSU today and not about UCLA, so how do you see this playing out?
Exactly that. These guys got to go out there and focus on their mistakes, correct those mistakes, make sure that they get back to just doing their job, not doing too much, and really focus on each assignment and play your game.
Here's hoping that with your kids out of the house today that you have to throw less things than you did a week ago because you made a real mess of things last week,
I can be a little bit more verbal this time.
There you go.
Let's hope that's not necessary. We'll be with you 90 minutes after the game, Rich. Enjoy.
I'm asking you a bit.
All right. Florida has added a touchdown. They lead now 14-7 over Mississippi State, and the Raging Cajuns sneaked the field goal in.
Just inside
short 20-yard field goal. Just got it inside the left upright, and they lead Tulane by a score of 10-7. About 9 minutes to go in the first half. We'll take a break here at Rouse's. Your game day headquarters is the ESPN Bet Sportsbook at La Berge. Our countdown to kickoff is now 2.5 hours. We will head over to Tiger Stadium, talk to Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, when we return here at Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in
98.1 Eagle 98.1 Game Day inside the stadium. Presented by Louisiana Federal Land Bank. Louisiana Federal Land Bank. They're experts in rural land and equipment lending.
And we head over to Tiger Stadium, check in with the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Chris, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. I got to tell you, excited to see, Charlie. It seems like 2 big names playing football. We'll find out how good these 2 teams are, but just the brands alone seem to have brought out the crowds, man. Traffic a little thicker this morning, and plenty of activity buzzing here on campus.
You know, Chris, for so many years, there were two programs, major programs, that LSU had never played, UCLA and Michigan. They still haven't played Michigan, but they had that trip to the Rose Bowl. I almost feel like we kind of got a little bit cheated. It was right after COVID. It wasn't the easiest travel ever. So I've kind of been looking forward to just seeing these two teams on the field together in Tiger Stadium.
No, I'm with you. You know, I mean, that trip to Pasadena, it was kind of like, we've gotten through COVID. Now we're back to normal. And, obviously everything was great until kickoff. And going back and watching that game just for, I don't know why, for punishment maybe, earlier this week, it was like, the final score was not even as indicative as how dominant UCLA was. And, I was talking to Josh Lewin, who's the voice of the Bruins, earlier in the week, and he said, kind of the feeling with UCLA and their fans is, LSU fans, I don't think knew what that team was going to be like in 2021, but he just said, going into our third game of the year, we're going to this iconic venue that we've never played, yet we don't feel like we got a very good team.
I thought, Chris, and maybe he expounded on this in your conversation, I thought that Chip Kelly put them in a really bad spot with when he left. It wasn't until February the 9th. Recruiting at that point is over. The transfer portal has had most of its movement already done. The coaching carousel has almost quit at that point. So not just finding a head coach, but finding a staff. I thought it was a really tough hand that Deshaun Foster was dealt to have to come in at that point. Then you're talking about an NFL coordinator in Eric Bieniemy, who's had a lot of success at that level, but teaching college kids after you've been in the NFL, that's a transition too. So I just think there's a lot of factors that have come into UCLA struggling out of the gate the way they have.
No, I mean, he went through that list almost in the same order you did. I mean, he said, we're talking about a team that, Chip Kelly was kind of flirting with stepping out the door for a season or two, but, they made some strides last year. Obviously on defense is where it started. I mean, they finished, I think, top 12 defensively. And then, of course, their defensive coordinator decides to go from Westwood across town. They lose 9 starters from last year's defense, so you're rebuilding that. And then, as you said, Chip Kelly steps aside, I believe, on March 5th, which is way late in the coaching, quote-unquote, season. And so he just said, it's all of those compounded. And then, he talked about Eric Bieniemy. He said, look, we certainly know what he's done at the NFL level, and he's highly respected. But as you pointed out, I mean, he's kind of had to install a portion of the package and then go back and dumb it down a little bit because of the amount of time they had to get everybody familiar with it. So, it's, again, not trying to make excuses for UCLA because LSU needs to do a lot of things good today, regardless of who they're playing. But you're 100% right. I mean, it's almost like the program got put on ice for 4 to 5 months before it really cranked up again. And, again, they got buzzsawed last week by a pretty good Indiana team. And I just think it's a good opportunity for LSU to get right what they need to get right after they've played 3 games.
All right, and talking to Brian Kelly this week on the Coach's Show and in prep for the game, couple of things that he mentioned. Number one was their short yardage situations, Chris. The 3rd and 3s or less, they haven't converted at the type of rate they want, and they certainly haven't been able to do it in the run game. And then the second thing was getting off to a good start. They varied their pregame routine a little bit last week, and they've gotten off to some slow starts. They found themselves in a 17-0 hole last week. So those things right at the top of the coach's mind.
Oh, 100%. He was asked the question about, the goal line and short yardage situations and whether or not they've looked at this or even a wildcat direct snap to Juwan Johnson, for example, who obviously has had success at the high school level playing that position. And Coach Kelly said, hey, look, everything's on the table. We readily admit we have struggled in those situations. So we have, we're trying to think outside the box or outside of our norm. So everything's on the table. And he also talked about, hey, look, we missed a big tackle. Harold Perkins, who you normally like, missed a huge tackle on that first down play against South Carolina. And, suddenly they're at their 25, and now all of a sudden, boom, they're close to midfield, and they just kept going. He said those are the things you have to avoid. But, again, he's positive in the fact that we can clean that stuff up, and that's what we're going to try to do against UCLA. And I think this comes at a good time. I think the way the schedule's set up, Charlie, for me, is you come off and you get the road win. It wasn't pretty, but you'll take a W. 36 is more than 33. And then you've got a UCLA team, which, again, we'll find out what this matchup looks like. But I think it's a chance to improve the running game a little bit, although, Caden Durham helped them last week. Then you get South Alabama, who looked impressive up against App State on Thursday night. But you got 2 weeks here to get some of those things that they think are easily cleaned up, the penalties, the mental mistakes, the missed tackles. And then you go into the bye week before you really start the gauntlet with Ole Miss coming to town. So I'm looking to see those things he mentioned this week in this particular game today to see if they've made any steps forward in practice.
Chris, what, if anything, did he say about the return of Chris Hilton? I believe he is cleared to play today, and the deep threat that LSU could use.
No, that's it. I mean, it's going to give them another weapon, but you heard him in his press conference, and then I made sure he reiterated that at TJ Ribbs Thursday night. Temper your expectations. I mean, Hilton's been without real football practice for over a month, well over a month. So he just wanted to temper expectations. But he said we'll see him on the field today. So, is a 90% Chris Hilton pretty good? I think so. And it'll be just great to see him out there and see if maybe they can stretch the defense. Because to me, as good as this passing game has been, I don't want to say LSU can get by being one-dimensional because I don't believe they can in the SEC. But if the running game can get a little bit better, Charlie, and then you add to a great passing attack the ability to stretch the field, get behind the defense, and tear the top off with a guy like Hilton, if you got to take a couple of weeks to get the run game going, I like to have that added to the repertoire.
What is your contingency plan if the Heat knocks Gordy Rush off the sideline this afternoon? Because it's going to be warm out there, Chris. I mean, make sure the broadcast crew is hydrated too. Do you have a backup plan if Gordy's got to take a blow?
I expect for them to have a chair and an IV and to find Gordy in one of the corners for most of the game. He's well aware of that. I'm sure he's prepping as we speak.
Yeah, he is. All right, we hand the baton to you guys at the bottom of the hour. What's coming up on Network Pregame?
Well, we've got the guys as normal, and they're going to break down the UCLA, of course. So they got the beat writer who actually is in Los Angeles today. He's going to join the show. Didn't make the trip to Death Valley, which is odd, but whatever. And then we got Tanya Johnson. Tanya Johnson and the volleyball team going to start SEC play next week. They host Missouri at the PMAC. Pretty good start to the non-conference. I know they dropped last night to San Diego, but she's got some killer players, including Journey Robinson. So we'll preview the SEC for LSU volleyball as well.
Chris, it's those media companies, it's called budget. Remind me one day to tell you the story about when I had to fly through Moscow, to get to a game. Idaho, not Russia.
Okay, I was about to say, excuse me, wait, what now? What?
You got me, Andy. I knew you. I spent 36 hours in Moscow, Idaho, so I knew exactly what you were talking about.
When the program director said, wait, you got to fly through Russia? I was like, no, it's Idaho, but it's probably more expensive than going to Russia. Have a great call, Chris. We'll talk to you next week.
You got it, guys. Thanks.
Florida 21-7 now over Mississippi State. Full scoreboard straight ahead from Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
and looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving
98.1. The Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln College Football Scoreboard. Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln on airline under the giant American flag.
We started the shoe where number 3 Ohio State fell behind Marshall 7-0, but have answered with 3 consecutive touchdowns. They lead it 21-7. That game is early in the second quarter. Also in the second quarter, number 21 Clemson leading NC State 28-7, and back in the Wolfpack red zone again. Couple of turnovers for NC State. C.J. Bailey, the freshman, getting his first start at quarterback, has a fumble. There was another fumble that Clemson cashed in for points. Cole Klubnik has thrown 2 touchdown passes and has a touchdown run. We told you before we were going to break that Florida has opened up the lead now 21-7 on Mississippi State. Graham Mertz has thrown 3 touchdown passes. And Musa, you've been watching this too. I have not seen DJ Lagway play at all. Has he gotten in?
I've seen him in on one series so far. It did not result in a score.
Mertz is having a big first half. Indiana leads Charlotte 24-14 at about a little over 2 minutes to go in the first half. Maryland leads Villanova 24-0 in the first at the end of the second quarter. James Madison leads North Carolina 32-21, 5 minutes into the second quarter. What did I say?
I think you said that was a tricky spot for the Tar Heels.
What did I say? 32 points in 20 minutes is what North Carolina has given up on defense. And for the Tar Heels, Jacoby Criswell is in at quarterback now. He's thrown a couple of touchdown passes. Remember, they're without Max Johnson now, so it was their starting quarterback at the beginning of the season. That game, 5 minutes in the second quarter, is already over the total. Cincinnati leads Houston 21-7. Kansas and West Virginia are tied at 7. About 4 minutes to go in the first half there. Tulane has just kicked a field goal to tie the score at Cajun Field. 10 apiece. They are at the 2-minute
warning. Just do it. They can't sue us, right?
Sue you. Army leading Rice 21-0, and the Cadets are back in the Rice red zone with 30 seconds to go in the first half. Just underway, late in the first quarter now, Kentucky leads Ohio only 3-0, but the Wildcats have a drive inside the Ohio 20 right now. Ball State leads Central Michigan 3-0. That is just underway. All right, ranked teams that will be playing later on today. We start with Kent State at number 10, Penn State at 2:30. Also at 2:30 at the Big House, number 11 USC, number 18 Michigan. Alex Orji is the new quarterback for Michigan. USC making their first trip to Ann Arbor since the 50s. Number 17 Notre Dame and Miami of Ohio at 2:30. Georgia Tech at number 19 Louisville. That's also at 2:30, as is Buffalo and number 23 Northern Illinois. 3 o'clock kickoff for number 12 Utah and number 14 Oklahoma State. It's Utah's first game ever as a member of the Big 12, and it's probably their biggest game of the season. Pregame storyline around Cam Rising, the starting quarterback for Utah. He has a hand injury. He is going to be a game-time decision. Lots of movement in this point spread that is now sitting at Utah -1. Both of these coaches have been there for 20 years. Both of these quarterbacks have been there for 7 if Rising does indeed make the start.
It feels like Gundy's always has like a 7th-year quarterback there, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, he has a couple of times. Gundy, this is the easiest way to remember it.
Yeah.
Gundy took the job the year that Les Miles took the LSU job. And he took over when Miles left there, and he's been there ever since. And I believe this is 16 winning seasons in a row, 15, 16. I forgot the exact number, but he had a losing season the first year, and it's been winning season ever since. Vanderbilt's at number 7, Missouri. That's a 3:15 kickoff. Number 8, Miami at South Florida. That's a 6 o'clock kickoff from Tampa. 6:30, Oklahoma's debut in the SEC. The number 15 Sooners host number 6 Tennessee. Couple of 3-0 teams. That's where game day is. 6:30 kickoff in College Station, Bowling Green at number 25 Texas A&M. And we're talking about a game time decision there to a quarterback for the Egg. Worked
for Connor Wegman. Yeah, it did. That's true. Kid looked good. Neely, what was his name? Mike.
Yeah, Neely.
Neely. Yeah.
You know who's quarterbacking for Bowling Green? You remember Connor Bazelak?
From Missouri.
Yeah.
I do remember Connor Bazelak.
Via Indiana. He's in his 6th year. It was 2 years at Missouri, 6th year. 2 years at Missouri, 3 years at Missouri, a year at Indiana, and now 2 years at Bowling Green.
Are we still dealing with COVID years? Like, is that how we're okay? Still
a COVID year and an injury year. Yeah. 6:45, Georgia Southern's at number 5, Ole Miss. Number 1, Texas hosts UO Monroe at 7 o'clock in Austin, the first start of the collegiate career of Arch Manning. And number 13, Kansas State, is at BYU at 9:30 tonight on ESPN. That is a pair of 3-0 teams that will go at it in Big 12 play, and it's BYU's first game ever in the Big 12. Other SEC games today, not among top 25 teams. Arkansas is at Auburn at 2:30. Couple of 2-1 teams there. I like Auburn a little bit here. You know, they don't turn the ball over 5 times against Cal. They're probably 3-0. But I'm not over the moon about them. It's an interesting game.
I want to see Hank Brown because, I mean, look, we've seen a couple
4 touchdown passes.
4 touchdown passes. That's New Mexico, though, right? I mean, look, again, at Arkansas, it's not great, but they're still an SEC team. You saw Lagway take the step down. I'll be interested to see if Neely plays for A&M, although it's Bowling Green. But, you know, I want to see these quarterbacks who set it on fire early string it together.
And a 6:30 kickoff from Columbia, South Carolina, as Akron goes in to take on the Gamecocks, and that is your college football scoreboard. Your game day headquarters is the ESPN Bet Sportsbook at LaBerge. Countdown to kickoff, about 2 hours and 10 minutes. We'll come back and get you ready to hand it over to the network. We are here at Rouse's, your tailgating mecca here, just a couple of miles off the LSU campus. This is Eagle, 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at
98.1. Eagle 98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day from Rouse's. Come on by for all your tailgating supplies that you need here before the game. All right, Musso, your final thoughts here before we wrap up our portion of the pregame.
There's a lot that I want to see from LSU today, but it starts with the start. I mean, I know Brian Kelly's talked about it all week. I've talked about it all week on LSU Daily as well. UCLA has been dreadful at starts this year. They've scored 7 points in the first half in 2 games, and those 7 points came with 42 seconds left in the first half of week 2. They almost got shut out twice. They don't start fast. The problem is LSU hasn't really started very fast either, right? 9 first-quarter points all season, and it all came against Nichols. Start fast because they won't. Step on their throat immediately in this game if you can, and keep the pedal down, and then work on everything else that people want to see. What can you get out of Chris Hilton? The running game. You know, your changes continuing on defense, ramping up Zy Alexander. But for me, start fast, get them down, and don't let them up.
Well, fair enough. But, and there have been, we went through this stat, 9 games in the Kelly era that they've fallen behind 2 scores, including last week. How much different does the start feel, not to drudge up something from 3 weeks ago, but how much different does the start feel if they actually score on the first drive against SC?
Very. It feels, and I would tell you it feels very different even if it's just a field goal. Like if they just score.
That was going to be my follow-up question. What if it's just a field goal?
Yeah, because you're up. You take the ball right down the field, and you immediately get ahead. Like if Brian Kelly loves to take the ball, right? Well, if you're going to do that, man, you got to get points.
This is where analytics, I think, I know what the numbers say, but I think there's a human element to the game. We saw this with Atlanta and Philadelphia the other night. Philadelphia goes down. They got an opening drive. They got a 4th and 4 from the 9-yard line. They go for it. They don't make it. Guess what? They lost the game by 3 points. So I'm sorry, but sometimes that settling for a field goal in the first quarter gets you in the mindset playing with the lead. Okay.
Yes.
So now look, if it's 4th and 1, 4th and a half a yard, then yeah, muscle up. I get it. But if you're 4th and 3, 4th and 4, I'm sorry. Taking the field goal is not a failure. It's not a loss. It's 3 points.
Yep.
Just
valuable 3 points.
Yeah, I would say so. I'd like to see some of the execution things cleaned up as far as the defensive busts. And I know that. The 3 long ones are what everybody gets to, but there have been some of these run fits have just been really glaring in the misapplication of what they're, how they're supposed to play this up front, and they've been run on too much. And so I would like to see that get cleaned up. I don't think the UCLA ground game is, the most daunting. I'd like to see that cleaned up. Get the special team stuff fixed.
Yeah.
That should be easy enough. And then I would like to see the LSU run game get going a little bit. And hey, you know what? Even if it's a wasted play and it gains nothing, have Garrett Nussmeier carry once in the first quarter?
Yes.
Just to let them know that he's there.
It's there, yep.
And you can do that. All right, a couple final updates. James Madison 39-21 against North Carolina now. Clemson has added another touchdown, 35-7. They lead NC State. They are driving again late in the first half. And a miscommunication in Lafayette between the quarterback and his receiver resulted in a pick six. And Tulane now leads UL Lafayette 17-10. But the Cajuns with a drive up near midfield with a little over a minute to go in the first half, with a chance to get points before the break. Again, we thank our friends here at Rouse's for being our game day host. Come on by for all your beer, your wine, your spirits, all of your meats, all of your tailgating items, lots of water, bottled water, and lots of ice here at Rouse's. We're just a couple of miles away from the stadium here, Burbank at Lee. We invite you to come by before every LSU game. Stop in, say hello, get all of your tailgating supplies. Whiskey and Wine immediately following LSU and UCLA, and then we will be there with the post-game show on Eagle 90 minutes after the end of LSU and UCLA. So we hope you enjoy your game day. Be safe out there. Remember to hydrate. Very hot. I got to tell you that one more time. And we will be back 90 minutes after the end of the game. For Matt Musso and all of us here at Rouse's, the crew back at the studios of the flagship, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. This has been Eagle 98.1 Game Day.